to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and we are ready for this live stream. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait for it because we have stuff to talk about. We have a little teaser along the way as well for something that's coming up in the works.
No way, dude. No way. I'm so excited. Just a little teaser, right?
Yeah.
Listen, we got tons of other things, too, that we're getting real close to releasing on the channel, making available to you all. So again, man, just stay tuned, stay a part of the content, be a part of the Cutback crew today. Hit that subscribe button right now. Smash it, hit that notification bell. That way, when our community posts go out that are updating you on some of the stuff we got coming, right? When our live streams go live, when our videos get posted, you know right away. You're the first to know. You're the first in line. That way you don't miss out on any of this great content.
Yep.
You don't miss out on any of the great merch that the both of us have on right now. Link to the merch shop should be in the description, but if it's not, it's right there on screen. Now you can go right into chat and you can click it because our bot has been fully updated. Stream Elements is ready to go tonight.
Yeah, it is, and we're almost ready for training camp to start. It is. I mean, we're getting down to the home stretch now, so a lot of the stories are going to start picking up, ramping up. We're ready for it, but there are some things that we want to talk about. There's some news that has come down, with the 49ers, and we want to get into it. One thing I wanted to bring up first, because I just saw it, maybe a couple hours ago, is the retirement of Ted Ginn. The reason I want to bring it up because, those, Harbaugh days, Ted Ginn was so pivotal to this 49ers special teams. And in fact, Ted Ginn is the last guy to return a punt for a touchdown for the San Francisco 49ers, and he's retiring. So we wish him a happy retirement because he was a dynamite player. That game he had against Seattle, that first game of the year, with the two big returns, I'll never forget about it.
No, not at all, man. Ted Ginn was an absolute legend, especially in the return game. He carved himself out a nice long career in the league.
Yeah.
This is a guy who was a real speedy type of guy for a long time in his career. And when the speed started to drop off, everyone expected him to just fall off a cliff. And he turned himself into a possession receiver and a guy who could get open in short distances in space. Yeah, the speed may not be in there anymore, the top end speed, but he had enough still left in the tank to be able to create separation underneath. And he elongated it. And the things he did at the end with the Saints, too, as well, was absolutely impressive. Ted Ginn, man, salute to you. Salute on a great, long, wonderful career in the NFL. A type of career that not a lot of players get to have. Man, yeah. That's incredible.
And I'll never forget him in college returning the opening kick of the national championship for a touchdown.
How dare you?
And then getting injured in the celebration because his team tackled him and injured him. I was in a hotel room in Anaheim. I was at a coaching clinic, and we were completely shocked that this happened.
Who was that against again?
I don't know.
I wonder. I think it was a certain Gators team that ended up slapping them all up and down the field.
It could have been.
It 100% was, because I remember that game. I made a bet at school with my physical education teacher.
Wow.
We had a big bet board. If you won the bet, there, nice big fat super chat, Megan. See you getting on top of it already. I love it. Thank you so much. But a nice big fat bet for not having to do what we called them like the worst Wednesdays, where you had to do cardio and abs and run like 4 miles around the track. You didn't have to do it for a month.
Yeah.
If you predicted the right team. Everyone in the class took Ohio State. They were that much the favorites. I went with my team, Florida Gators. They upset and shocked everybody. Had a nice month off. It was great.
And Fable just brought up in the chat that if Ted Ginn wouldn't have been hurt in 2011, the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl. You are 100% correct, sir.
Not wrong.
Definitely not wrong.
Not wrong at all.
That would have been big for the 49ers. They definitely would have won the Super Bowl in 2011 if Ginn would have been healthy. So that's 100%. And thank you, David Vilma, for the super chat that just came through. We really, really appreciate it.
My goodness gracious. Chat is live tonight.
They are live.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and the whole time we're on this, throw in your questions the whole time. Let's just open it up. You guys go crazy with questions.
I like
and
it.
We're going to keep talking about this, the content that's coming your way. The other thing that's been brought up a lot, especially in our comment section and on some of our live chats on our premiere video, is Jordan Matthews. I think before we had brought it up before that, we kind of teased it in in the tight end episode that, hey, maybe he was a possibility, that he was putting on weight. He did go to the Trey Lance workout and catch passes from Trey Lance. We thought that was probably just him looking to get a workout. Maybe he was looking to get eyes in front of Shanahan and John Lynch and also get some work in with Trey Lance. So that was the first step. The second thing on top of that is he went to tight end U and is working out with George Kittle. Coming in at 236 pounds, he has definitely put on the size to be considered a smaller-ish tight end. Could he fill that Jordan Reed role for the 49ers, Alex?
He very well could. This is a guy who has been for a very, very long time in this league, crafty as well. I mean, jumping from Ted Ginn now to Jordan Matthews, it's the irony there.
Completely different, yeah.
They're completely different type of players, but in terms of finding and carving ways and niches in terms of staying in the league and trying to stay relevant and elongating that career, oh my goodness gracious, I don't know what just happened to chat right there.
Chat went away.
Chat went bye-bye for a second. Hopefully that comes back. Oh goodness gracious. Anyway, he's kind of carved out this niche and has been able to stay relevant and in the league for a long time now. And it's one of those things where this is entirely doable and plausible. Yeah. I think both of us agree on that front there, that this is not like a shot in the dark, random craziness going on here with Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews, his issue has never been that he isn't capable. He just doesn't fit in terms of like breakout on the outside or really kind of in the slot. He's been doable, like he's sufficeable. He's serviceable out there. You can put him out there and he can do the things you need him to do right. He can run the routes. He can learn the system. He's a smart guy, but he's not a world beater. A shift to tight end puts him in some better situations and better potential matchups, and especially if he's added the size, which it sounds like he has.
Oh, I saw the scales, 236 pounds.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's a big difference.
And it ain't fat, I'll tell you that much.
No, it's probably just all jack gosh darn muscle.
He looks pretty good.
He looks good. At the tight end position, that could translate. Putting him and lining him up in situations where he's got linebackers who aren't as quick as some of these safeties and corners. This might be dangerous, and this may become we've been talking about this now for a couple weeks. Probably actually more like a couple months. This could be the new trend, seeing guys who are athletes, legitimate athletes, making this switch over to tight end and being able to play. The question with moving to tight end from that kind of position, right, is can you handle the weight aspect, adding on the weight, adding that stuff onto your frame and being able to play at that kind of level. Athletes all across the spectrum, every sort of sport, the minute you start to get a little bit bigger, add a little more weight on, sometimes the injuries pile up. Sometimes.
Yeah.
If your body can hold on and the frame can hold up with that added weight and the additional muscle mass, that could be a problem for everybody else.
It could be. And the one thing that we remember is that Jordan Reed came in last year and had a specific role. And maybe that is what they still need from Jordan Matthews. We have talked about this tight end room over and over, and there's been lots of guys that have been brought up. I mean, Jay Elliott especially has brought up different tight ends, and I seen that David brought up Delanie Walker again. And Delanie Walker had come out and said that he wants to be on a team that is a contender. He wants to play for a contender. He doesn't want to be a focal point of an offense. He wants to add to an offense. He's felt the wrath of being a focal point. He said he wants to play with a good quarterback, with a good offensive coordinator, all that good stuff. So Delanie Walker is another option. And it's intriguing, though, about Jordan Matthews. It's intriguing for the reason that he's not bigger than Dwelley. I've seen someone ask if he's bigger than Dwelley. No, Dwelley is bigger than him. Dwelley probably has a good 10 to 15 pounds on him. But Jordan Matthews is a good blocker as a wide receiver. The question is, can he line up in line and make those blocks? Jordan Reed wasn't a great blocker, so they use him in specific roles. So you're talking about, once again, a guy that fits that power slot role. Is that role still available in Kyle Shanahan's system? Because you have Jalen Hurd, you have Juwan Jennings, you have Mohamed Sanu. Is that role still needed for a tight end position? That is a good question.
That is.
So I wonder if this is actually a possibility or not. I think that the reason that I tend to think that they're at least going to give this a look, or at least are considering it, number one, they have a roster spot open. I was hoping that was going to be Delanie Walker, number one. Number two, though, is the fact that I know he's friends with all these 49er players. He's been with the 49ers a couple of different times now, but he's working with George Kittle. To me, it just screams that there's something more there than we would ultimately think otherwise because he's actually there. And then he worked out with Trey Lance. Like, it was always weird, right? Like, I know they couldn't get that many guys to go up there to North Dakota because they didn't have the players, and you want somebody that's a legit NFL player to catch balls.
100%.
But now that's why Jordan Matthews was making a change to tight end, and they're getting a look at this guy running routes with the future quarterback, the future starter for their team. It's an interesting concept.
It's not only an interesting concept, it's something that, a couple people brought it up. They said, well, is Jordan Matthews, is his run blocking up to par? Because otherwise, our defense is going to be able to predict what we're doing when we're doing it. Listen, that was the case with Jordan Reed last year, right? Jordan Reed was in, and you knew sort of, hey, we got probably a passing down situation here. But you can also do things differently. You can also do things a little differently in terms of disguising guys out there and taking Jordan Matthews and putting him out there and putting him on a choice route, an option route, or putting him out there in RPO situations where he's going to run a route. You're not going to ask him to do a lot of blocking to hold defenders so you can try and create a running lane or a running angle or a place for your running back to possibly break to an edge. So this is not a crazy sort of thing, and I'm not concerned so much about Jordan Matthews' ability to run block per se right now, so much as I'm worried about him being able to do the things the 49ers tight end room needs them to do.
Yeah.
If he can operate better than Ross Dwelley in the pass game, then you can take the two of them and combine them into one guy who can do the things you need them to do. One can be more of your run blocking sort of threat. And you know what? In all honesty, that might help Ross Dwelley. Like, think about it. Juice is able to get as open as he is out of the backfield because of how dominant of a blocker he is.
Yeah.
If Dwelley can focus just on blocking and can establish himself as a dominant blocker, especially with the added size, when he's out there, if you stick the two of them out there now, you're not going to be looking at Ross Dwelley as the receiving threat, but more of the blocking threat.
Yeah.
And maybe play action stuff now. Ross Dwelley is able to get himself better opportunities and better situations to make bigger plays because they're focused on him as a blocker rather than a pass catcher.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at how they're going to build this, that's build the room. I think that's
Yes.
when you're looking at it, how do they want to construct it? They've always had, right, George Kittle, who's the ultimate do-it-all. Then they had a good backup, and then they always had a blocking tight end as number 3. Last year, they kind of flipped the script. Their blocking tight end was number 4 because they kept Jordan Reed, but a lot of that had to do with the fact they didn't have any power slot guys in the receiver room. So how they build this is going to be interesting. But wouldn't you rather have, and I'm with David as far as Delanie Walker, because Delanie Walker can block, he can catch, he can do it all, as long as the health is there, right? As long as he's still able to play at a high level, he makes sense because he can do it all. But think about it from this perspective. You have Ross Dwelley, and we all agree Ross Dwelley is a good backup. He can do the blocking, he can do what he needs to do, he has good hands. But Jordan Matthews is a legit receiving threat. So if George Kittle was to go down, when Jordan Matthews is on the field, people have to worry about him as a receiving threat.
Sure.
With Ross Dwelley, they don't worry as much, right? They could cover him with Budda Baker. They could cover him with one of these safeties and be fine. Jamal Adams can lock him up. Jordan Matthews can play and beat those guys. So he is a mismatch issue. So you could use those two guys get the flexibility to still do what George Kittle does, not to the level by any means, but those two together can make an actual better backup than just one of them would.
Very sure.
So, I mean, it's at least intriguing to me.
100%. And I think it's something they need to obviously consider. If it's an option, that's fine. That's great. If they're putting all the eggs in the Jordan Matthews basket, then there's problems and concerns and red flags and what kind of organization are we and what are we doing from now on? Those type of things would be concerning to me. Those are the type of things that are question marks. But the 49ers front office has not made decisions like this in the past. So if they are considering Jordan Matthews, and that's why he's out working with George Kittle, and Kittle's inviting him to tight end U as they're trying to get a little feel there for it, then I imagine that there's other guys that they're interested in and looking at, including guys like Delanie Walker.
Yeah, I still think they're sitting there with that 90th spot open. They're considering somebody.
100%. It's just who.
The only other thing I'm thinking is, would they do this? They're getting really close to the COVID protocols to where they have to reach a certain percentage. Would they release one guy to make sure their percentage got to there?
Oh, man. There's a good chance.
I mean,
so here's the question, though. Does it have to stay there? Or is it like a thing like once you hit it, like you've hit it and you're good?
I believe you have to stay there. But still, once you start cuts, right, you're going to be good. Because as soon as the preseason games start, you're going to have the cuts.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting to me. Is where exactly how is that rule written and how does it need to be implemented? If it's a thing where you need to stay there, then that is it potentially could impact some teams, because if you're an organization, why would you want to follow all of the protocols? In what world?
Oh no, they don't want to have to.
Yeah,
for sure.
In what world, if you have the option to, in what world are you going to?
I mean, it does beg the question, if you have two players that are real similar, is somebody not being vaccinated going to cost them their roster spot?
Are they liable for a lawsuit if that starts happening too?
Only if that is true. You don't know that for sure. I mean, if these guys get cut for playing in the regular season, that's going to be in the preseason, that's going to be really hard to prove.
Correct.
It's an interesting question to think about.
Yeah. Well, this is welcome now. Welcome, folks, to post 2020. Right? Like, all things now are on the table. It's only going to get crazier and crazier for the NFL with the more that COVID is an issue, or at least a problem that people are monitoring and paying attention to. The longer this drags on, the more complications, the more issues, the more variant, all of these things, it's just going to cause more and more headaches for teams, more and more headaches for the league. Oh, goodness gracious. I would hate to be a front office personnel or a general manager having to try and make that decision. Do I keep this guy? If two guys are similar, do I keep one of these guys because they may or may not help us get over a percentage number? That would be awful.
I would like to think that's not going to happen.
I hope so.
You know how it is. Sometimes you have to weigh and think about every single thing that comes up, because I seen Jag was asking about a tight end. Who's he talking about?
Let me see here. We would consider the tight end that was with the Vikings. Forgot his name. I think he played at Notre Dame. Is he talking about? It's not Rudolph, is it?
Well, he's signed,
right?
Yeah. So it would have to be.
I don't know who the other one is.
I mean, maybe he's thinking Eifert. He played in Stanford, and
maybe.
He didn't play for Minnesota either.
I don't think he played for Minnesota. He just played for Cincinnati and the Bills.
Yeah.
I think it was the Bills.
Was it the Jaguars?
It was the Jags also.
Yeah.
Who knows? It was a bunch of teams.
It was a bunch of teams.
Eifert's been around the league. He's been around. Okay. He's been everywhere. Yeah, but Rudolph is signed. So I mean, look, it's one of those things. And by the way, Monica, shout out for she got her shirt.
Yes.
So shout out. You need to now shirts. My bad, multiples. Yeah. So now we need pictures.
Yeah.
Now you need to hashtag TCCS on Twitter, on Instagram. We got to see this. You got to show off the merch.
Yeah, it's true.
We got to be able to show it off. But look, at the end of the day, there's tight end options. There's not that many.
Yeah.
So if you're the 49ers and that's who your 90th man is going to be, is you're going to go out and get a tight end. I mean, you're looking for something you don't already have. So a guy who's a dual threat who can dual threat it, right? Something that Ross Dwelley hasn't proven he can do. Charlie Warner has definitely not proven he can do.
No.
Or you're going after a receiving threat behind Kittle, which you currently don't have, which is why Delaney Walker makes sense. It's why I almost said Kyle Rudolph, but we know it's not Kyle Rudolph. Yeah. Jordan Matthews makes sense. Both of those fit a role and a niche that we don't currently have behind George Kittle.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to early on in training camp if Charlie Warner looks good in the pass game or not.
Yeah.
If he's struggling, they're probably going to look to make a move, and they're probably going to want to bring in somebody like Delaney Walker or Jordan Matthews. Those guys are sitting there ready. They're just waiting for their opportunity.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Look, there's the other thing, and by the way, too, before we get to the next thing, I believe it was David, but I may be mistaken here, had brought up if Ted Ginn was the last person to have this much of an impact and is the best kick returner we've had since that 2011 season, how come the 49ers haven't placed as much of an emphasis on it? And that's a solid question. However, I think the Niners have tried. They have just failed drastically.
Well, they thought Richie James was going to be that guy.
Yeah.
And they, over the years brought in Michael James. They've brought in other guys that they thought were going to be, I guess, possibilities, to possibly do it. And it just hasn't worked out. And that's one of the things that I've had against Richie James as far as the kick and punt return game is, to me, he's had solid returns. But so far, he hasn't done anything that makes you just, scared about the 49ers kick game. So a lot of times these other teams kick the ball, elevate it, and he catches it inside the 5, and then they don't even get, past the 20, which is bad field position. The 49ers need to improve field position. A lot of times they wouldn't trust Richie on punt returns. They put Trent Taylor back there knowing he would secure the catch. So they need to make sure they have somebody that they feel confident will secure the catch, but also has dynamic ability to take it to the house. Whether that's Brandon Ayuk, Ambry Thomas, I know you've brought up Mitchell as well. Those are all possibilities of people that could possibly take over. And then if they do, that puts Richie James in a role to hurt. He needs to win the return area. That is something that he really has to do.
It's true. I mean, he needs to. He definitely needs to. Look, at the end of the day, too, with this room, for the 49ers, the kick return game for us is like the wide receiver room for the Patriots. Can't hit it in the draft at all whatsoever. We go after guys and it just hasn't worked out. It hasn't panned out. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have anyone there. We very well could have somebody there who's going to make an impact this year. And they got a lot of names and young talent they brought in this year that have the ability to take care of those things and do those type of things for this team and for this room. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we can improve that aspect in that area of the game, because I think you and I would both agree on this. The kick return game has struggled a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit of an uphill climb for the 49ers. And so if it's an uphill climb and it's something they need to address, then they should do it. However, you can't also sell the farm just for a kick returner to shore that aspect up. There's got to... Shanahan knows this, and we all believe this too, right? There's someone on your roster that can get it done for you. It's just a matter of finding him. And if you don't have a guy on your roster who can get it done, then what you need from the special teams room, then if that big play solidified, can get you 10, 15 yards on a kick return, so that way you're not pinned back at the 5 or the 10, right? If that guy doesn't exist on your roster, then you need to put somebody out there who isn't going to kill you in the special teams game.
Yeah, the most dynamic person that could be return game guy is Brandon Ayuk. I mean, he's the most dynamic returner that we have on the roster right now. He could take it to the house at any second, but are they going to give him the freedom to be able to do it? I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that now. They're worried about him getting hurt. I mean, a lot of people talk about him being the number one receiver. If he's the number one receiver, you probably don't have him back there unless you're like a Bill Walsh and you have John Taylor and you put him back there. So maybe it's a possibility, but I still think that Ambry Thomas has probably got a shot at this. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see Travis Benjamin go back there from time to time. Somebody that can secure a catch for sure. And then you worry about, of course, him fumbling later on, but not so much on the catch.
I don't think, Jag, because that's a good question, that's a solid question, is the fact that we can't find a returner and indictment on our special teams coaches. No, not necessarily, because your special teams coach necessarily isn't doing all of the scouting.
He doesn't also get a choice sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a position coach, you're not going to go into a draft room or scouting sessions or whatever and be like, by the way, we need to be targeting this guy in this round, because you have an entire team with needs and things of that nature. If the guy falls to you at a spot that you're comfortable taking him, that's fine. But you're also not going to go out and just draft a returner. No. You're not looking for that. You're looking for a guy who can do multiple things. Maybe you're hoping this guy in a few years can develop into a skill position player, safety, corner, whatever it is. And in the meantime, can also have an impact in the special teams room. That's 100% what you're looking for when you're drafting a guy. But they're not going to go out and just settle on one guy to do one thing. This isn't a kicker. This isn't a punter. This isn't a long snapper. Those guys are specialty positions where that's the only thing that they're doing. And that's all they're going to focus on, because that is the 1/3 of the game that they have to be able to play to perfection. Kick returners, those are typically, as people would refer to them, a dime a dozen, meaning you can go find a guy who's athletic, quick, can see the field, make the cuts, and secure the football. You can find those guys more often than you're going to find a guy who's really, really solid and consistent as a kicker, a punter, and a long snapper.
Well, the ones that were usually great were guys that were very good at other positions.
Also true.
That you're getting drafted for the position that you play. You're not getting drafted to be a returner. Teams that draft, teams that have returners all the time is like the Raiders. You draft everyone who's fast. So they always have returners. But yeah, this isn't on Hightower. This is not his fault. There's nothing that he can do. He gets the players that he gets. He has a roster and he's trying to build it. And the fact that he doesn't even have an option a lot of times for special teams, he might have a voice in who they keep for their last couple guys. If you're comparing guy versus guy, that's a possibility. But we haven't seen it yet. So we can't blame him for sure on as far as kick returners not having successful ones, because Richie James has had opportunities. He just can't take it to the house.
No, he really can't. He really, really can't. Kyle Neely, put Kittle back there and they will run away. That's true.
That is true.
Kittle is a terrifying individual.
Yeah.
He's a scary man.
Yeah, let's just not get that guy hurt.
That's the only problem, right? You know, if you put Kittle back there, he's gonna do something stupid, like run through 3 guys, and then a 4th guy's like, you know what, screw this, and just take out his knee.
Yeah.
And there's the season. Or at least a couple of weeks.
I mean, we have options on this team, so I think they can improve the return game.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a matter of finding the right guy.
And there's value. When you're a coach, and especially in the NFL, you're looking at, do I want this one to be a secured catch? Okay, I want this guy in. Do I want this one to have a chance to flip the field? Okay, I need this guy in. We need a house call on this. All right, this guy has to be in. So you might get sparingly Brandon Ayuk in situations like, 3 minutes left in the game. You're down, 3 points or you're down 7, and you need to flip the field. That you might get him in there on that. And then when you need to secure a catch, you put someone else in for that, maybe an Ambry Thomas or a Richie James. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a shared, load as far as how these guys are taking it in. I heard Shanahan talk about this before with Hightower, with how they're using Trent Taylor and how they're using Richie James, and why he doesn't use Brandon Ayuk, because that is something that some reporters in the Bay Area like to ask all the time, is why Brandon Ayuk's not back there.
They ask that question a lot, I feel like.
They do.
Look, at the end of the day, too, I get why. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand why you want Brandon Ayuk back there, but you also don't want to put your best player back there all the time to return punts. It's one of those situations like, right, when the Eagles needed a big play, they would stick Deshaun Jackson back there.
It's true.
But you know what they didn't do? Run Deshaun Jackson back there for every single punt return. If we need a big play and we want to stick Brandon Ayuk back there and see what happens, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because, you play to win the game. Shockingly, I know. So it's one of those things where, yeah, I get that. But Brandon Ayuk being your every down punt returner, you're just asking for trouble. You are. You really are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think that there's some fun conversations to talk about with special teams. I think kick returner and punt returner is another position that is in question, because yes, Richie James has had success, but no one is worried about Richie James house calling it. He's had one kick return, I think, for a touchdown in his career.
True.
I think you're looking for a little bit more dynamics there. But if they went into the season with Richie, I'm not exactly freaking out either. He's not bad. So
no, he's not terrible. It's just one of those things where it's like, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you do. You know what you're going to get.
And most teams aren't. Yeah, and most teams aren't afraid of it already. So
no,
and that's the problem.
I wouldn't be. I would kick it deep to him, and I don't kick deep ever.
Accurate. This is true. This man never kicks deep.
No,
ever.
No.
10 yards in a cloud of dust, boys. 10 yards in a cloud of dust.
That's a little bit longer than 10.
Okay, 25.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I try.
Getting closer.
What do you guys think of Sherfield? He looks big in his game as being a speedster.
His game doesn't show speedster on film.
No.
It really doesn't.
He does look big.
No, he's got good size. I don't think that's the question.
It's speed.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, again, that times well, but when you get him on the field, he doesn't look like he's moving very fast.
Agreed.
This is something we talked about with Austin Watkins as well. It's somebody that runs well, but when you get him on the field, he just doesn't look that fast. Almost looks like he's running in molasses. It's like, come on, man. So I don't know. I think that Sherfield, his avenue to make this team is through special teams. I don't think it's as a returner. I think it's as a gunner. It's as on the punt team. There's all these different things that he can do, but I don't think it's that avenue. And it's going to be an uphill climb, because somebody else could make this roster, like Jawan Jennings, because he can go out there and do what Sherfield can do as far as he's going to be a hitter in special teams. So you're going to look at guys with upside possibly to keep before somebody that's just an ace like that. I think we got, what's his name from Arizona last year? Joe, I can't remember, the linebacker.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
And everyone thought, oh, well, this guy's going to make the team, me included, because he's a special teams ace. And then he was on the practice squad. They didn't even keep him. Now he's gone. So special teams is not something, they're not like Harbaugh where they're going out and getting Costanzo and these guys that are going to be special teams guys. They're building the roster, and then the guys at the end of their roster are playing special teams.
Oh, 100%. And Monica, do we think that Watkins will be a practice squad guy? Probably. I would lean that's more towards yes than it is no, just because I think he has more potential upside than some of the other guys that we have, like River Craycraft, for example. I think he's got more upside, but it's really just going to come down to, can he translate into the system as a route runner, as a possession sort of guy right off the jump? Can he learn and pick up the system the way he needs to? If he picks up the basic stuff and shows flashes of the athleticism and the size and some of the things that made him special towards the end of his career at UAB, then he's 100% going to make this practice squad. But if he comes in off the jump and drops a bunch of passes, can't remember routes, can't get open in space, especially underneath, there's no chance for him. He's got no hope.
Yes, it was Joe Walker. Thank you.
There it is.
A bunch of people, Caleb, Jay Ellie, all
Caleb's
Joe
the
Walker.
win, Jay Ellie for the win.
Yes, you guys are right. It was Joe Walker. I knew his name was Joe. I could see his face. I could see his jersey number. I just couldn't remember his last name. That's how memorable he was. But as far as Watkins goes, I think it's going to be tough for him to even get on the practice squad.
I agree.
This roster is deep. If they start having injuries, there's a possibility he makes it to the practice squad. But his film just doesn't scream. And there were guys last year that ended up, like Jawan Jennings, that ended up on the practice squad. If Jawan Jennings is possibly going to end up on the practice squad again, I'd rather have Jawan Jennings than Austin Watkins.
Yes.
So
1,000 times yes. That's not even. I don't even think that's a question. Most 49er fans aren't even going to entertain that, I would think.
Yes, Alex Faulkner, he isn't fast when he's running routes. When he's a gunner, maybe he's blowing by these guys because these guys are playing it a certain way. They're going to let people run up the field. That's part of the issue, part of what they do as a gunner. Sometimes you let them run up the field. Sometimes you take them off, depending on which way the punt is going.
Correct.
So there is a certain way to play it. I'm not saying he's not fast. I'm just saying when he's in routes, he's not getting in and out of his break very fast. And so he looks slow. So he looks like a possession receiver and not a burner. It's the same problem we see with Kevin White.
That's the big concern with Kevin White and the big question. And part of the reason why he's struggled to stick in this league is there is no consistency in terms of his ability to get open. And when you're a wide receiver, next to catching the football, that's the next most, if not the most important. It's like 1A and 1 little a, like we talked about last week in the running back room, right? 1A, 1 little a in regards to catching the football and getting open on routes.
Yeah.
Those two things. If you don't do one of those two things, then your time in the league is short.
Yeah.
If you can't do both of those things, you have no time in the league. And I wouldn't say that one of them is more important than the other. But I mean, look, in 3 seasons with Arizona, he has a total of 28 catches for 340 yards and a catch rate that's under 60%. That's not good.
No.
It's not, doesn't bode well. And yards per target is sitting right now at about 7.5 was his best season. 7.1 is what his average is. And it's basically been going down every year.
He's one of those guys that I've heard people saying, so, I mean, I took a deep dive into this guy because people were saying he was going to make the roster, and people on our comment section and stuff, and people that, like, I tell these people, talk, we'll respond, and I'll actually look into it. And with Sherfield, I just, the actual receiving skills, I just don't see. I think that he's a good player. I don't think he's a top 6 for the 49ers player.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. There is definitely a team out there that he would fit in and make a roster. I'm not saying that he can't do it or that he shouldn't do it or that this guy's garbo poopy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's no way he makes this roster. This group.
Unless twofold. If there's injuries, he can.
But you've quadrupled down. There's going to be no injuries.
I agree. And second of all, the special teams angle.
Possibly,
because if him, let's say him and Jawan Jennings are tied for that 6th spot. Like, you think they're super close, but he's outperforming Jawan Jennings
on special teams.
Yeah. Then you keep him. You put Jennings on the practice squad.
You give another year of marination for Mr. Jawan Jennings. Yeah, that very well could, and that could affect, like you just talked about, that could affect an Austin Watkins.
Yeah,
right there. If you have that type of situation where Jawan Jennings gets bumped because of special teams performance, good luck, Austin Watkins.
Yeah.
Because there's other guys still above Austin Watkins that still have a really good chance to make the practice squad.
Yeah, well, anyone that watched our wide receiver, our offensive depth chart video knows where we have Austin Watkins and River Craycraft right now.
Dead last?
Looking up. They're looking up at the top.
Down the bench. They're down the bench.
They have a little bit of ways to go. So.
Oh, okay. San Francisco, I like that. Trent Sherfield makes the roster before Benny Fowler. Just saying.
San Francisco is one of the ones that's been on Sherfield. That's part of the reason that I look. I think we agree Benny Fowler and Sherfield are close.
It's not. Yeah, they're not worlds apart.
No,
they're not worlds apart. They just do different things.
Just Fowler has done a little bit more in the league. But I don't know. To me, neither one of them are overly exciting. Somebody that I'm excited about. Where I do get excited talking about like the top 7 guys on the roster.
Oh, the top 7's great.
Yeah.
And we talked about that during our depth chart breakdown. We talked about it during our wide receiver breakdown video, which you should go check out after the live stream if you haven't already. I don't know what you're doing, just saying. But that video, we talked specifically about how you like to see that, right? You like to see the Niners getting about 7 deep at the wide receiver position before that cliff hits and that huge drop off where you're like, who are these guys and what are you doing on this? How did you get here? Like, why are you? Who invited you?
Yeah.
You like to see that at 7. You'd hate to see that like what it was a few years ago where it was like 3 in and you were like, oh God, that's a steep cliff down. that's a big drop.
Yeah, last year it got scary. Once you had some of the injuries and it was like, oh, Debo's out, Jalen Hurd's out, Richie James is nicked up, this guy's out, that guy's out, and you're like, who the heck do we have? Brandon Ayuk's hurt. What? We have nobody left. Correct. Let's go sign some guys. We had guys I'd never even heard of, and I was just like Googling them to try to find out who they were. They're coming on the roster, and people were trying to talk about how they were going to be key contributors, and I'm like, contribute to what? These guys should be going and getting people water. What are they doing?
Ouch.
It just made me nervous last year, and I'm glad that it's not going to happen this year. That we're injury free, and that all these guys are going to give a nice stiff arm to injuries, and they're going to have a great season because I've doubled down, and I trust me. So
hey, I love the fact that you're doubling down, man. It's my favorite. It's my favorite part. Favorite part. I think Jennings could make the final 53. 100%. We agree with you there on that. No doubt.
Yeah, I think he's in the mix for sure.
100%. And speaking of a guy who's in the mix to make the roster, especially after everything gets cleared with his off the field stuff that came up with Mr. Kevin Givens.
Yeah, it's done. His legal stuff's done.
It's all settled, right? It's all taken care of. So he has nothing really to worry about. Probably no punishment coming down from the league, and that's great news for the 49ers because he's been working out with somebody, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's been working out with Jim Washburn. And for people that don't know who Jim Washburn is, he's actually the mentor of defensive line coach Kris Koceruk. So he's getting in extra work and working with the man behind the man. And so I kind of like that. And I think it's going to show that Givens is putting in work and he's ready to have a big season. When he got mentioned by DeMeco Ryans as one of the guys to watch, it kind of makes you perk up a little bit like, what? Okay. I mean, we knew he was going to have kind of a step forward. He's been stepping forward every single year, getting a little bit better. But this one kind of made your hair rise up on your neck like, uh-oh, here we go. Like Kevin Givens might be a breakout guy. This interior defensive line is getting better. But I like the fact that it's somebody that knows what Koceruk likes. So you're just not out there working with a specialist, a defensive coach that is a special coach, but you're working with somebody that is a specialist in the things that Kris Koceruk likes from defensive line. You're going to work on the techniques that he likes from his defensive linemen to play in the, kind of the skills and the way that he plays it, and I like that about it.
No, 100%. And I like the fact that if Kevin Givens is a name that DeMeco Ryans is putting out there and it comes to fruition, right? He's a guy who's going to break out, and he does.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yikes, rest of the league. Yeah. Yikes, NFC West. Yikes, our O-line in practice. That's not going to be fun to go against because he's not going to be going against your first team guys most of the time. He's going to get most of the time second team reps with some sprinkling in. Second team guys.
You might want to be worried about our second team.
I'm worried about our second team.
He might worry about the second team O-line too.
That's true.
So it's Banks or Brunskill. Have fun with that. That's not fun, it's Laken Thompson or Jalen Moore. Have fun with that. We got Colton McKivitz taking snaps at guard this time. Have fun with that. Battles all over the place.
There's a lot of battles all over the place. But Kevin Givens' name being tossed out there and then hearing about this makes me feel good inside because he was one of the guys last year that kind of shocked us and surprised us with how much he developed and how quickly it started showing on the field. And listen, some of that is right. He got extended snaps because of all the injuries that we have. But that's what you're supposed to do when you get those extended snaps is kind of make some eyes pop a little bit and be like, hey, there's something here that we didn't think was going to be here where we are now. That's encouraging because then you're going to keep developing it and prodding and poking to see what that thing is and see what it can turn into and what it can blossom into. And now that he's working with the man behind the man, who knows? I mean, it's only going to help. It's not going to hurt to work with the guy who is your line coach's mentor. And I think at this point, if you're a day one person, you've been on the channel for a long time, whether it was our behind the whistle segment where we talked about Kris Koceruk for the very first time, or whether it's been every time since then, no matter it's our editor throwing in Kris Koceruk popping up when we talk about Javon Kelly, no matter what it is, We love Kris Koceruk on this show. We think Kris Koceruk is probably the best line coach in the league. He's at least in the conversation.
He's the best D-line coach in the league.
So for us, working with him and working with a guy that mentored him, for us signals this guy's onto something. And Koceruk obviously probably pointed him in that direction this offseason to get some work in. This could be a big, huge, fat year for Kevin Givens. And if it is, this D-line is going to be even better than we've been hyping it up to be already.
Yeah, and Matt Burgos asked about Maurice Hurst. And right there along with Kevin Givens is Maurice Hurst as another guy that's going to make a big impact on this team because the lateral movement and the way he's able to get up and down the line athletically as a 3-tech in this league can't be unnoticed. I think one thing he's going to be good at is getting after the passer, but he's going to have limited role and limited opportunities, but he's going to be rushing with some of the best there is. I like the way he gets off the block. He's fast. He's able to run people down on fly sweeps and outside zones. That athletic ability is something you need, something they were missing last year all over the line, and what they did is go out and get Maurice Hurst, go out and get, Arden Key, guys that are more athletic, to go with an Ebukam who is a specialist on the outside. This defensive line is going to be big, fast, athletic. They're going to get after you. This is 2019 all over again, maybe with a little bit of an upgrade, which is hard to say, but I think it's there. That's going to be fun, and I think that Maurice Hurst, along with Givens and these guys, is going to make for one of the best interior defensive lines that the 49ers have had in a long time.
Man, that's a scary thought process. And a lot of 49ers fans, I would say most of the Cutback crew probably agrees, or at least isn't as on the fence about that as we are. Most 49er fans, though, wouldn't agree with that because Buckner.
Oh, yeah.
Buckner. No, but Buckner. No, Buckner. Listen. If Kinlaw continues to develop the way he's developing, in a few years, it's going to be Buckner who. You're not going to care anymore, 49ers fans.
Oh, we'll still care about Buckner, but we won't worry about the production.
It's not the same kind of care, though. It's like one of those things where it's like, we loved Buckner when he was in San Francisco, but we love Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's going to end up being a wash. Yeah. It's going to end up being a wash, and you're not going to miss Buck as much. You're not going to miss Buck's production.
You mean you're like, oh, I love Dwight Clark, but I love Jerry Rice.
It's true.
I mean, I don't know. We can't say that about Kinlaw. I don't want to go that far.
No,
I would like to make a shout out to Jay in the Bay because he's in the chat. So what's up, Jay?
What's up, Jay? What's good?
We always like having Jay on. What's good?
Always.
So the other thing is, Antonio asked a question.
He did. It was about
the roster size.
Yes, expanding roster size.
Expanded roster size is inevitable. Though you went to 17 games now. They're going to go to 18 games by 2024. It's coming. Get ready. New TV deals and all that mean they want more games. More games equals more money for the owners, more money for the players. The only way to make that happen is to have expanded rosters and extra bye weeks. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely coming.
You're looking at a 19-week season, folks. Yeah. It's coming.
2020 did a good thing as far as the extra 2 spots, making it 55 that were available. That way you could have the extra linemen. And it makes a lot of sense for the teams to have 55 available. I think that the fact that they've only went from 49 to 53 since the 80s is a very limited amount, even though the game has gotten faster, the game has gotten more physical. So this is a collision sport. They need more players, but also the players also want to make more money. So they don't want to add extra players until the salary cap goes up because then their salary number stays down. So they want to make sure they're making more money. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s where, yes, you want more players, but the players ultimately don't want people taking their portion of money that they feel that they've rightfully earned because that's what it's about. They're trying to feed their families. It's hard to do it sometimes.
Absolutely. 100%. And the expanded rosters make sense. As they expand seasons too, you can expect a shorter and shorter preseason as well because they're not going to want to take the wear and tear. And so if they add an additional 18th game, right, they're going to have to add a bye week and they're probably going to have to take away one more preseason game. So you're looking at potentially 2 preseason games, right? So less time for the rookies to get prepared, but offset by the fact that you're going to have more games, which means you also have more. You're going to have a better shot at getting weaker opponents during the season, which means you may see more in-season rest opportunities for players, especially if you're blowing a team out. Get your quarterback out early, get your line out early, let your young guys roll a little bit in some of those games. You're not going to care as much about laying it on because you got those 2 additional games in season to clean and iron things out.
It's going to fundamentally change the game. Having 2 bye weeks, having 18 games, It's going to fundamentally change it, and it also could be an expansion of the league. When it goes to 18 games, that is the perfect opportunity with 2 bye weeks to add teams from outside the country, Mexico City, Toronto, or in fact, somewhere in England or United Kingdom would be possibilities because now you have bye weeks for travel. And that has always been the question with these things is how can they make it work? And that's one way they can make it work. The NFL held out the bye week in the negotiations for week 17 or an extra game, 17 games. Didn't give them that spot because they're saving it because they know in 2024 when they renegotiate, they're going to get the 18th game because they're going to give the extra bye week. By then, the money is going to be through the roof. Maybe we'll have some extra special salary cap things that happen as well. I know we've teased before, quarterback-only salary cap. If they could get to that point, they could definitely make this league more competitive, more exciting to watch. And 18 games will just make TV deals so much bigger, push the NFL season way into February, and that means that they're occupying even more of people's time, which means people like it more.
I mean, I know I'm not going to complain. I know I won't.
There are people that don't like the extended schedules.
Yes, there are. But to those people, all I have to say is why do you hate football so much? What's wrong with you? Why would you do this? Also, you also have to take into consideration if they are expanding the regular season, there is still a possibility that they expand the playoffs a little bit more.
It will.
As well. So don't be surprised if they add another team, potentially 2 teams.
I think it's going to be all 8.
8
teams, and every single team, no buys. Every single team will play.
I like that. I like that a lot. To be honest with you, I'm all right with that because it's only going to actually increase parity throughout the league.
Yeah.
Because now if you have to have every team playing every single week and no one has a break or a freebie, right? That wild card round. If the wild card round is the wild card round because the wild card teams are playing and every team is on and going that weekend, the path to the Super Bowl is the same for everybody in terms of how many games you have to now play. Number one, so you don't have that competitive disadvantage for those teams that aren't the number 1 overall seed or the number 1 and 2 overall seeds. On top of the fact that you now make it so that anything can happen on any given week.
The only thing it does do is de-incentivize a team from playing hard at the end of the season. If I'm going to either be, first or second seed, and I'm not going to get a bye week, I might not play as hard in week 17 or week 18 or week 19. I might let somebody win because I don't really care. The only thing you have really at that point is home field advantage.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess home field advantage is still big, but is that enough incentive for these teams at that point? But I guess we'll come across that. Now, if they do add teams, if they added a team in Toronto, added a team in Mexico City, for instance, and you were all of a sudden sitting at 34 teams, then having 9 teams make the playoffs would make sense. And then you go back to the number 1 team getting a bye and, everything else is different. But wild card game's going to be on Monday Night Football now. That's something they never did before.
That's going to be exciting.
So, I mean, they're definitely changing the game. It's all about money. Huge deals with some of these social media platforms. The NFL is finding ways to make money. The owners are getting rich, and hopefully they'll give a little bit more money to the players. But this is definitely where the NFL is headed. The NFL is definitely not slowing down like some of the other pro sports leagues.
No, not even close. And this is something that the NFL has done really, really right, and we like that. And the expansion they've done at the right times. They haven't waited too long. They haven't waited for things to get stagnant. They've kind of been ahead of the curve. And that's what you have to do in the entertainment business. And listen, NFL football, it's a sport. We get that. But it is an entertainment business itself, in and of itself. You have to keep the fan base entertained and engaged. And
are you not entertained?
That right there. That was great. That was a nice little mix there of Russell Crowe and Arnold Schwarzenegger all in one. It was beautiful. But
get my hand, there's a bomb in here.
Get down! You gotta get out of here! Come on, dude! So look, I love that about the NFL is they have found a way to try and stay ahead. And shout out to Luke Luna.
Yeah.
Once again, my guy. Done tattooing. Now he can pay attention.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
We love that, Luke. We really
appreciate Luke so much on this channel.
Man, everybody. Every one of the Cutback crew has been phenomenal. It's fantastic. And by the way, since we're talking about the Cutback crew, all you new people watching right now, you should hit that subscribe button and join. It's a great community. You will not regret it for 1 second. Hopefully. Probably not.
Yeah, Luke's in the house.
He is in the house.
Yeah, Jason's in the house.
It's true. Oh, man, we got Jason, too. We got the whole gang here, man. I love it. Jay the Bay here today, too. I love that as well. Man, I'll tell you what, though, Ant. I'll tell you what. Some not good things in 49ers land have been popping up. Folks, it's not good. You hate to really see this. The red helmets might be a thing, man.
No, it's not.
They might be a thing.
No, it's not.
No, you got to hear me out. They might be a thing. Look, they're being teased, right? RSF 49ers was putting stuff out there. George Kittle talked about how nice they looked and how sweet they looked and how he wouldn't mind wearing them. And I'm getting concerned. I hyperventilated a little bit. You can ask Megan. I grabbed a paper bag. I had to practice the breathing in and out. If the bag's not moving, air still is flowing sort of thing. I'm worried that they're going to do this. They're going to make the red helmets a reality. And what if they do it?
No.
What if?
I mean, the one thing we got going for us is this year is the 75th anniversary of the San Francisco 49ers. Next year is not, and that's when they could possibly wear the red helmets. The rumor was that they reached out to the NFL about wearing them this year, and the NFL said no. The NFL, thank God, hopefully someone from in there, maybe Merton Hanks, whoever it was, said absolutely not. This is a terrible idea. Well, they probably didn't say it that way, but this is ghastly with a capital G. It is terrible. I would not like these red helmets. I have looked at every single form of the red helmet. People have posted all different kinds of the forms of the red helmet. It doesn't matter which one it is straight ugh. Okay, it does not work for me. I don't like it. So give me gold. I enjoy it. Give me black, the one that Gary designed that me and him were talking about on Twitter. Nice. I like that. Anything where the dark empire with the black jerseys. But if we're wearing the white uniforms like we've been wearing and then the red throwbacks, let's stick with the gold helmet. It is a nice contrast. It looks very nice. It's clean look. You're doing too much, okay? This is the same as when DeBartolo tried to change the 49ers logo, and that went down the drain really quick because that was UGG as well. And this could be that same moment. Don't do it, 49ers. Do not ruin what is the best uniform combination in the league.
So you mean to tell me that it's UGG and it's not
No, it's definitely not
It's not
It's UGG.
That's a great story, by the way. We'll have to tell that to you guys sometimes. That's a wonderful the story is a good story. Yeah, we should probably have a segment about that. No, I think we should have an player of the game. Oh man, that guy's Oh my Lord Almighty! Shout out to Corey. Corey, way to go, bro.
Coming up with a segment.
Come up with a segment. You didn't. I mean, technically, you didn't come up with it, but your performance led to it coming up with it. So big props to you there, man, for that segment.
I can. Well, I know Gary has the black helmet on Twitter. I can put we can put the black helmet on Twitter and on Instagram after the show.
We will.
Show everyone what it looks like. It is a nice design. He did a good job working on it. And you put it with the black uniforms, and it's nice. As far as the white helmet, Gary, when we saw the white, to me it just came off real Stanford-ish.
Very Stanford-ish.
Yeah, very Stanford-ish, and it almost looked collegiate and not NFL. So I wasn't a huge fan. It didn't really jump out, but I know some people like it. Just like some people like the old gold chrome. I mean, it's not my favorite. I'm more on with the gold chrome than I am with the red helmet.
I'll take the gold chrome before I take the red helmet.
Yes,
every time. But no.
How are your feelings on the late 90s red face masked gold helmets that Steve Young and those guys wore?
I don't hate them.
Yeah.
I don't despise them.
Yeah.
Are they my favorite thing in the world? No. But I don't look at it and like, let me rip that face mask off and don't ever put it on again sort of thing. When I see the Reds, I don't want to rip the face mask off. I'd rather you play without a helmet. I
kind of like the red they use now too.
Yes, the red they use now is better. That red was not.
It was like almost a burgundy. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't mind it. I like the whites. The whites with that kind of like a maroonish with the gold. I thought those were clean. I had the Jerry Rice jersey in that, and I thought it was really nice. Yeah, but when you got into the reds, to me it wasn't as favorable, but it was still not a bad uniform.
I'll try my very darndest just for you, JLE, to pull it up on this here. No promises or guarantees, but I will do my darndest. But no, yeah, the Cutback is a fan of the gold helmets. We love our gold helmets.
Yeah, we do. I enjoy the gold helmets.
Not much change is necessary or needed. I will consider the matte blacks though that Gary put out there for sure.
Yeah, I think if you're going all black uniform, you put those on, it works.
100%. Does it not work? Does it not work at all? A couple other things that have been brought up and talked about. We had a 49ers beat writer for 49ers.com where, you can get all your 49ers news from the team itself directly there. He came out after the state of the franchise and gave his projected 2021 MVP and his projected 2021 breakout star
For the 49ers?
for the 49ers.
Okay.
These are two names that I think we would both agree with, and pretty much every single 49ers cutback crew member and 49ers faithful would agree with. His MVP, projected MVP, was Bosa for 2021, and his breakout star was Brandon Ayuk.
So you think everyone's going to agree with that?
I think everyone's going to agree with Bosa.
I don't.
You don't think so?
No.
Who do you think they think the breakout star would be then? Or the MVP would be, excuse me.
Who does who think should be the MVP? Who do I think should the MVP
Who
is
should
going
the
to
MVP
be?
be?
Well, I don't know if you can expect Bosa to come back coming off the ACL and breakout star right now. Especially, he's going to get the most attention on the defensive line.
That's true.
So they're going to roll double teams. Do I think he's going to have an impact on this team? Yes. Do I think he's going to have a good season? Yes. Do I think he's going to be the MVP? That is a big, tall order coming from a defensive player.
It's true.
You're more than likely to get it from an offensive player, somebody that could have a big year. I would say George Kittle would be the number one offensive player that could be the MVP if he stays healthy 16 games and Jimmy stays healthy or Trey comes in and plays well. George Kittle would be the first option. Second, I think, would be Fred Warner after that. I think those two are at the top of the list as far as MVP. I don't think Bosa's a bad choice. I just think he would be third on the list for me as far as somebody that could have a MVP type season. I think it's hard for a defensive lineman to have an MVP season coming off an injury.
I don't disagree with you there. However, if we know one thing about Nick Bosa, the motor is high. If he's healthy, he's very hard to stop. And if everyone else in this D line is getting better and improving, then it's going to be very, 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 very hard to focus solely on only Bosa. Breakout star for me, though, Brandon Ayuk, that name.
I'm so shocked you liked it.
I know. I mean, it's surprisingly, I'm just going to be all on board for that. Just all over it. There are definitely other names.
Yes, Jalen Hurd.
Yeah, I mean... Oh my gosh, I'm so surprised.
That's why I said it. Touche.
Look, at the end of the day, right, that's just going to... There's a lot of options here. There's a lot of options. And bam, there you go.
Oh, there's the helmet.
There's the black helmet there. Chat, I know I covered you all up. I apologize sincerely. I really, truly do. I wanted to make sure that you could get a good look at it. So there it is. There it is right there. There's the matte black that Gary did. That's all Gary right there.
Yeah,
folks.
That's Gary.
It's beautiful. I love it. I was looking at Ant there for a second. I love that. That's great. That's also great. But that's also really good.
I appreciate the support.
That's what I'm here for. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of love. Just a little bit. So I thought those were two names that were interesting. I think there's definitely some debate to be had there, but I think the common fan, the common 49er fan who's out there pushing Thanos-like conspiracies about Trey Lance being ready for week 1 to be the starter are going to agree that Nick Bosa is probably the MVP and Brandon Ayuk could be the breakout star. There may be some other names out there. I wouldn't be shocked to see Trey Sermon's name being tossed about out there as well for breakout star for 2021. Aaron Banks wouldn't be one that surprises me either. A name that no one would say that I think both of us think could have a big breakout huge year, Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah, he could.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if people in 49er land would consider it a breakout year for him. I think he's already had breakout years. You know what I mean? I think 2019 was a banner year for him. He had a really good season.
Yeah.
That is part of the reason, that I just think that. But when we're talking about, once again, I'm just going to go into this just a little bit. I don't want to go too far into it because it becomes a real rabbit hole when we're talking about Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. When it comes to Trey Lance and people saying that he's ready, what has changed from OTAs to now that would make you think all of a sudden that he's ready? Because you saw his workout videos with him throwing to River Craycraft, where River Craycraft slows up and eases up and catches the ball. This is literally rhythm warm-up throws that you do in practice every single day. My high school kids could execute this on a high level, then get in the game and not execute it on a high level. This is kind of just the day one stuff, warm-up stuff. Do I like Trey Lance? Absolutely. But can we stop? There is absolutely nothing going on right now that is making Trey Lance the starting quarterback over Jimmy Garoppolo before training camp. Let training camp happen. If he comes in and beats out Jimmy Garoppolo...
If he just straight balls, man, then it's his job.
Awesome. Dude, we're on board. Let's go.
Colin Cowherd can take his 9-8 and shove it up his hoo-ha.
Yeah, what are we looking at? This is like a person that says they're better at driving and they haven't drove yet. How did you get better? I don't know. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. But I guess people need talking points and things to talk about.
He's got to have something to talk
Yep.
about. He's running out of content and ideas. He can't keep talking. He can't keep having those cone phone episodes. He just can't keep doing it.
Well, there's no breakdown of actual players,
That's
right?
also true.
No actual breaking down of the game, how it works, how the ins and outs of football. It's all about transactions.
Well,
it's all about players. It's all about hyperbole.
Yeah, well, we saw what happened when he tried to break down film, right? He got called out by Eric Armstead in about 2 seconds.
Yeah,
And that'll continue to happen.
that's true. Jay in the base at Shanahan throw 10 out of 10.
Dude, that was a
Yeah.
nice throw. Listen, it was a little wobbly, right? I don't know if I can give it a perfect 10 out of 10. It wasn't a perfect spiral.
Yeah.
But it's a solid 8.5 at the very least.
How long before Kyle Shanahan during practice, and we know we're going to hear about it, pushes Trey Lance to the side and says, "No, this is how you do it."
Oh, 100%.
Or Jimmy Garoppolo, "This is how you do it."
First week of training camp.
Hey,
First week of training camp.
Actually, I don't want him to do it to them. I want him to do it to Rosen. No, Rosen, let me show you how it's done. Okay, I don't know what they taught you. I don't know what they taught you at UCLA, but this is how we do it in the big leagues.
Can you imagine Kyle Shanahan
Just pushing him back.
pushing him aside? And the episode that Grant will have off of that, right?
Oh.
Kyle Shanahan humiliates Josh Rosen. This guy is completely unprofessional. How could you do that to this man? How could you do it
It would
to
be
him?
fun. It would be fun.
It'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Look, though, the balls to do that and throw it across
Ooh, Matt
street.
Burgos gave him a 9 out of 10 because
I like
it wasn't a good celebration dance.
Hold on a second. If we have to include the celebration and the reaction, it's a 10 out of 10 because he dropped the WTF bomb as Joe Staley is grabbing him and like complete shock on his face that he actually pulled it off on his first try. If you have to include the celebration, it's a 10 out of 10. Without the celebration, just form, technique, release, right? All of that, 8.5. If it's a perfect spiral, he gets a 10 out of 10 on it. He gets an 8.5 for that reason.
Yeah, and Fable brought up about he thought we were talking about Cowherd the whole time. We do have a bone to pick with Cowherd as well.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
We're gonna get there.
Cowherd is on. He's been marked.
Cowherd is being a coward.
Yeah.
But
Ooh, I don't know where you came up with that.
man, that was a tough one. I can tell you what.
So.
Tough. That was a tough one to come up with. But look, I'm really excited to see what he can develop into, Trey, especially in the preseason and training camp. But it's gotta happen. As of right now, it's nothing. Everything that he's done so far, and this, I mean, we can connect this directly right to DJ Jones's comment this week.
Yes.
All the videos you put out of you working, I don't care about none of that because none of that means anything until you actually step on the field, right, and you go to battle.
Until the bullets start flying.
None of those things, and I talked about this in our quarterback breakdown where I talked about my concerns with Trey Lance, right? My concerns with Trey Lance are that he has all the changes he's made are all changes that he's made and hasn't put on tape in an actual physical game yet. I haven't seen the footwork improvements in live action yet. I haven't seen the throwing motion in live action yet. All of my concerns about Trey Lance still exist until I see him live in game action.
Yeah.
And once he shows, hey, the release is quick, it's cleaned up. Hey, the footwork's cleaned up. It's nicer. It's quicker, right? He's got a good solid base. He gets his feet around, he pushes, he drives, all that stuff. Once I see that, I'll feel better and I'll shut up about my concerns with Trey Lance. But it's not happening until I can't be confident with it until I see it.
Yeah, well, the problem is you're a coach, and I'm a coach. Matt Burgos knows this. He coached quarterbacks and had camps. Is when you are coaching a position, you train them and you train them and you train them and you train them, and then they get on the field, and some of those guys can't duplicate what they did in practice because their body hasn't built up enough muscle memory to do it without thinking. Right now, Trey Lance is able to think about everything he's doing, which is awesome. I'm glad he's able to think about it, make sure his motion is right, make sure all of that is good. But we used to see this with Tim Tebow, right? Remember he worked, how many balls did he throw? It was like 1,000 balls a day trying to change his motion. And then he got back into where bullets are flying and the motion went back to the same or really similar. When Trey Lance gets into the preseason and his motion stays the same and his footwork stays the same and he does everything right, we will have no more concerns about Trey Lance. The one that will have concerns is Jimmy Garoppolo because the gorilla is coming for him in a big way to take that position because Trey Lance is a gorilla shadow over him. He might as well be King Kong in that room because he's impressive. That guy is impressive. Stature, size, speed, physicality, intelligence, everything is there, but he has to pick up the offense, and he has to make sure that all of his techniques and everything is right and good to go.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. Megan, shout out for the super chat there, the little devil with horns. I don't know what that's directed at. I hope it's not us being like the devil
And also
with horns.
Jason, yeah.
And then Jason, I just like the emoji. I love the
I like it
drop
too.
in. It's a great meme. I love memes. You can post memes and just post them. It's all good. We love that. We absolutely love that indeed. Man, I'll tell you what, Monica, by the way, show is a 10 out of 10. We like that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We greatly appreciate that. But no, DJ Jones's comments hit on the nose with this thing in particular, and just in general with 49ers fans and just fans across the league. It's not even 49ers fans. I won't even say 49. It's fans in general. I have never, ever judged a player's work ethic on the type of things they post in the offseason.
What?
Never. It's never, ever happened. I don't give a hoot if you post or don't post. I'm going to know. Once we get to games, live games, I'll know. Everyone will know if you've been working or developing or doing things. You could just show up for media day, right? For interviews, like Jimmy Garoppolo did, and sat down in that chair and took one look at Jimmy Garoppolo and went, "Oh, Jimmy's been working."
Yeah.
This cut Jimmy. Jimmy was already a 10 out of 10 in the looks department, and then he showed up cut, chiseled, shoulders are bulging out, right? The tricep definition through his
I'm not
freaking
sure I like
dry
where
fit.
this is going.
Listen, I don't know how this is going either, but the dry fit he had on, I could see the tricep definition in the outline of the shirt, and I'm like, who's this Jimmy Garoppolo? This Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't here last year in 2020. This Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't here in 2019. This is a different Jimmy. Jimmy's been working.
Yeah.
Those things show, right? You don't have to post those things for the development to shine through and the idea that you've been working hard for it to come out in the light.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care what you post. And DJ Jones put that out there. I was like, you know what, DJ? I liked you. Now I really like you.
Yeah, DJ Jones is a dog. I loved what he said. I couldn't post it quick enough on Instagram. I literally saw it, and I actually think I got it out there first because I really wanted to talk about it. Thanks, Monica. Shout out to Monica for always, being there, leaving nice comments and having great chats, and pretty hilarious too, by the way.
Yeah, Monica's on her game.
Yeah,
she's on her A game.
Though the one thing I'll say is DJ Jones is right. The other thing is I have no problems with these guys posting their videos. I have zero problems with them posting what they're doing and showing the work that they're putting in. I think sometimes that will lead to other players. It kind of keeps every player in check. It is a way to make sure that everyone's working. The one thing I will say, though, is the response to these videos is what I have the most problem with. It's every single Trey Lance throw he's the best ever. I seen George Kittle put out video today of him running routes and making catches. And the first thing I went and looked at was the comments. And what I loved was what Fred Warner and some of those guys were saying was like, man, I wish I could have my own photographer at practices to take pictures of me. So there is kind of one of those things where as long as you don't read too much into it, it's fine. Do I want to see these guys working? Yes. I don't want to see nothing from them unless you're Jalen Hurd, because you're just moving in silence and in dark. And one day you're going to be an assassin on the field and you're going to take everyone out. But that is another story. I just can't wait for it. And I just think it's funny how people blow things out of proportion when it comes to online videos. I mean, if you watch content on YouTube or anywhere else, you are going to find somewhere where they're going to post a workout video and attempt to break it down. And most of the workout videos that they're breaking down are warm-up videos. Those throws, like George Kittle running routes and stuff, that's not exactly something he's doing. That's not just like a typical warm-up. He wasn't working on very much. He was just getting the defensive player's hands away and then making his route and catching the ball with the 2 feet in. That is not something huge where he's working on a technique thing that's over the top. The throw to River Craycraft was definitely a warm-up. So we're looking at warm-ups right now, and we're breaking it down and acting like that is what's going to make these guys stars in the NFL. Don't see it. I don't believe it, and I never will. So you're not going to convince me otherwise on this, but I do like seeing it as far as I just like seeing these guys work.
No, I like seeing them put in the work, right? I like watching the videos to be like, oh, look, he's working on this, or oh, maybe he's working on that.
Yeah.
Or if it's a warm-up video, it's like, okay, well, cool, that's just nice to see. But I don't like try and watch those things and be like, ooh, let me talk about how he's going to improve this year on his intermediate routes from 12 to 15 yards because of this footwork.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't.
Well, think about it. All the people that were talking that Kyle Shanahan was holding Trey Lance back by not having him roll out in OTAs early on are the same people that are saying he's ready to play starting quarterback from standing there and throwing the ball, not even making a complete drop.
It's impressive.
It's a complete 180. When Kyle Shanahan's not on the field, Trey Lance is developing beyond his years. Yeah. When Kyle Shanahan's on the field and having him
holding him back.
Holding him back, yeah. He's running the Jimmy Garoppolo offense, whatever the heck that means.
I'm inevitable. Oh, my goodness gracious, my Lord. I mean, look, at the end of the day, someone had brought it up. They talked about the elephant in the room, and you know what? There's a big fat elephant in the room.
Yeah, the elephant in the room. Jay Ellie just asked me, have I got the jersey yet of Jalen Hurd?
No, that's not the elephant.
That is definitely the elephant, and I will say to you, Jay Ellie, that no, because I'm waiting to see what number he ends up with. I know he's 14 right now, but I have this. I just want to make sure he's going to be 14 for the regular season. He's going to be healthy. That is obviously the elephant in the room, by the way, Alex. I will not be swayed otherwise. Look, because I think everyone wants to know when that Jalen Hurd jersey is going to debut on the show. It's going to happen. As soon as it is official that he's 14, that jersey is going to be on me. It's going to be looking nice. And I'm going to be herding everyone to the end zone to watching multiple end zone celebrations. I am king of the Jalen Hurd fan club.
Not only is he the king of the Jalen Hurd fan club, man, he's the king of puns. That's great.
Yes.
Off the top of his head. Where did you come up with herding them into the end zone? That's incredible.
I've been working on it for like the last 3 months.
Ah, man, yeah. It's a good. Hey, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for that.
First it was herders, and then it just developed, and ing just made more sense.
That's true. Megan, I did forget the Thanos glove. I do have myself an Infinity Gauntlet ant, so now whenever we refer to Thanos, we can, also give an image for the people who struggle to understand why Thanos. Look, though, there's an actual elephant in the room, right? There's a real elephant in the room that we got to discuss. And
I'm looking around. There's no elephant.
Okay, metaphorical elephant.
Oh,
all right.
You gotta be clear.
This man did
People are so literal.
Yeah, listen, this man did some things. They are very literal. This man did some things, and he put some stuff out there that it can't be forgiven. It can't be forgotten. Colin Cowherd has the 49ers at 9-8, folks. 9-8, finishing third in the division, 1 game better than the Arizona Cardinals, 2 games worse than the Seattle Seahawks and the Rams, and worst of all, making the playoffs as a wild card team. The worst part about his take is that he literally states the 49ers are capable of winning the Super Bowl. But I got to hedge my bet here. Jimmy Garoppolo's recent history is he's not going to play 17 games. I'm sorry. This team almost won games last year with Nick frickin' Mullins and CJ Beathard at quarterback. You now have Trey Lance, who I think we all would feel right off the jump is going to be a better fit than both of those guys. How are they finishing 9-8? Can someone explain that to me? In what world? Is he thinking that both guys aren't playing?
No.
Oh, so he's just a clown.
Yeah, remember he went heel on Trey Lance.
Oh, that's true. He did.
He went heel.
That's right. We covered that on the live stream.
It's still showing this. In fact, Caleb is the one that brought that up.
He did.
And that, in fact, is true. Colin Cowherd is a heel when it comes to Trey Lance. I don't know if it has something to do with his daughter or what is up with that, but for some reason he doesn't think. Look, they're not going 9-8. Okay, they're winning at least 10 games. We know that I've picked them to, I believe, win 13 games this year. 13-4. So that is what I think is going to happen. I'm not freaking out about, Cowherd saying this. The one thing that did frustrate me, well, before I'll go that, because I did see Caleb comment on Jimmy Ward's comments.
Yes.
Where Jimmy Ward said basically Matt Stafford, he is who we thought he was, or they, basically
they are who we thought they
Denny
were.
Green. If he
we let him off the hook.
Basically, he wasn't that good in Detroit. Why would I think he would play any better in Rams land? And that's a good point. Thank you, David Boo Cowturd.
I agreed.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Thank you for that. Yes, Jimmy Ward is coming out and asserting himself right away as a guy. He is feeling confident in his abilities and what he can do.
Very.
He's ready to go, and I think he is going to ascend this year. I said earlier I think he's going to make a Pro Bowl. I said that in one of our earlier videos.
You did.
I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl player this year. I think this is the year Jimmy Ward steps up and makes plays. He's figured the health out, and that's why he's feeling so confident. He feels confident working with DeMeco Ryans. So I think it's going to be nice. I think Jimmy Ward is ready to go, and he's letting everyone know, look, don't even come here because I got something for you.
True. I mean, look, at the end of the day, man, Jimmy Ward can have a big, huge, gigantic year. And I loved him putting that out there now, not waiting until we got a matchup, letting them eat and feed on that right now, early before we even get to training camp. You can use that as bulletin board material all you want, because at the end of the day, the Niners have plenty of bulletin board material to use against the Rams as well. And the worst part about Cowherd's comments, it wasn't that he had just the Niners at 9-8. He had the most to say about the 49ers. Every other team had like a 1 or 2 line snippet. The Rams, easily the best team easily the best division in football, and the Rams with Stafford will be better in division, so he has them winning the division. They're going to be better than I think they were last year.
Yeah.
But you can't take that out against the Niners because the Niners were injured last year. On the Seahawks, they have some new pieces here. And this is a team that wants to win a Super Bowl.
I have been hearing a lot of people talking about the Seahawks, because when we put out the video about who's the biggest threat, the Seahawks have been overwhelming the team beyond the Rams that we've heard.
Correct.
There were people that were with us. It was the Rams, and then there's been a lot of people that were the Seahawks, and they've been talking about a lot of the additions that they brought in and a lot of fear about the pass rush for the Seahawks. Besides Carlos Dunlap and Jamal Adams, the other defensive end, I'm not too concerned about the pass rush of the Seahawks. Jamal Adams still struggles in coverage, so he's one heck of a DN, though. If they zone blitz, you might have to worry about him covering George Kittle. I don't know if that's a matchup issue for them or not.
It's just the greatest. Oh, Jamal Adams, defensive end. That's so great and true.
What if he got voted to the Pro Bowl as a defensive end because he had like 6 sacks?
We're
Congratulations.
going to get 10,000 subs and 10,000 likes if that happens. If Jamal Adams ends up being a DN, you all need to @ Jamal Adams on Twitter just with hashtag cutback call it. You can just leave it at that, and it'll be all good. I'll tell you, I think the Rams are the best, not the best team, but the best chance to dethrone the Niners and take them off the pedestal in terms of winning the division. In terms of Cowherd's thoughts on the Seahawks, and a lot of fans' thoughts on the Seahawks, we addressed a lot of that in that episode, right? Russ always cooks. Russ has cooked. He's cooked against the Niners. He's cooked against everybody in the NFC West for a very, very long time. At some point in time, though, Father Time comes for us all. That O-line is as bad as it's ever been. And I'm sorry, I hate to break it to folks. Yeah, David, I agree with you. Apparently, the pass rush is better, and they added Kerry Hyder, who wasn't going to be anything for us until half of our D-line went down with an injury. And I'm sorry, even last year, I mean, the stuff he did last year was great, but can we be realistic here? Can we be honest about Kerry Hyder? Kerry Hyder wasn't sacking the quarterback the same way that D Ford and Nick Bosa was sacking the quarterback in 2019.
No.
He's not getting there in 3 seconds. He's getting there 6-7 seconds after the snap. Play is gone. It's happened, right? Quarterback's dropping back. There was inside pressure, so he has to break out of the pocket. And then Kerry Hyder's, working really hard, getting out there, and then catching someone by their shoelace, and they're going down, and it's a sack it's a sack. That's what Kerry Hyder brings to the table. High motor, energy, can put himself in the right position to make plays. You know what Kerry Hyder isn't? A playmaker.
Are you worried about Kerry Hyder at all against Trent Williams?
No.
And they're going to want Dunlap on McGlinchey. So you're going to get Kerry Hyder against Trent Williams. So, yeah. I'm not worried about that at all because he will get absolutely eaten.
Yeah.
And he will also struggle in the run game against those two guys because Seattle runs a different D-line system.
True.
Yes, they run the same defense as the 49ers, but they do not run the same D-line system. The wide 9 is a real thing, and the way Kris Koceruk coaches it and teaches it is a lot different than what they do up there in Seattle. Tom Cable is not it, okay? He's just not.
He hasn't been it anywhere, really.
Yeah. We got Shanahan, not Cable.
It's true.
Yeah.
Thank God.
We got DirecTV.
Gotta love DirecTV.
Yeah.
DirecTV, you can sponsor this at any time.
I think Seattle's taking a step back. I get the fact they're all hyped about their team. And maybe that's why CBS decided to name the 49ers the most overrated team in the NFL.
I mean, look, the 49ers hate is coming out in full force this year, folks. You really love to see it. It didn't happen last year.
But you know why it's coming out?
Why?
Because they are mad at Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch for giving them absolutely nothing.
You mean to tell me that the media holds grudges and acts like petulant children?
Especially in the sporting world, yes.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. I'm shocked. I'll tell you, shocked.
You think Bill Walsh actually liked the Bay Area media? No, he didn't.
No, not even a little bit. Look, I just, it is what it is, right? This is what the media is going to do. This is what they always do, especially when they don't get their way and things don't go the way they want it to go. They are going to spin things to benefit them somehow, some way, and to punish those small peons who decided to step on their toes and prevent them from having the thing that they wanted, or the story that they wanted. They wanted Trey Lance information and pick number 3 information, and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch decided to sit at home and play pinball.
Yeah.
And just not talk to anybody about it, and just have a little secret group me chat sessions where they were saying, why don't we put out that this guy's going to get drafted, and just have a good time with it, right? And it drove everybody up a wall, and nobody knew what was going on, and it threw the media and everyone into chaos, and they all made buffoons of themselves.
Yeah. I do think Fable brought up he's happy that they have so many doubters. The one thing I will say, too, is last year, I think it was fully expected for them. Everyone thought they were going to make a run at it again.
Yes.
The revenge tour and all that stuff. So they were playing from kind of a different angle. Where this year, they're playing from, kind of an unseen angle where there's just so many people that are hating on them. They're going to be able to fly under the radar a little bbit, not have as much pressure on themselves. And now they can go out and execute again. Because in 2019, they came out of nowhere. No one expected it. So until they got to like 5-0, 6-0, no one paid attention to them. I think this year it won't take as long, but they'll have, once they beat Green Bay in week 3 and go 3-0, that just happened. That's not a prediction, people. That's a spoiler. That's happening. Once they go 3-0, people are going to start talking about them because they're going to beat the brakes off of Green Bay.
I agree.
And then everybody's going to go crazy on, oh my gosh, here come the 49ers.
You know who else agrees with you? Tyler Menting also agrees with you. He's not looking forward to that game at all.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that game, especially since last year I was, kidnapped in the basement with the Joker and stuff. And thank God Batman is a friend of the show. But I think that's going to be a very big game. I think it's entirely possible that the Niners cement themselves as the team in the NFL after week 3. And I'll tell you what, you just said it. Fable just said it. We have a much easier schedule this season. Easier schedule this season than last year.
Well, it's on paper, like you said, because you always have teams that are going to shake out a different way, but it is a more favorable schedule than last year. When you don't win your division, the next year it's easier. That's just the way it is. But the fact they finished in the basement makes it a whole lot easier. Monica's right. Las Vegas does have the 49ers winning the division. So, who you want to agree with? Colin Cowherd or Vegas?
Very true. Megan, are you referring to the food that we're going to be making when we go on with Nitty Gritty Niners for Sizzling Sundays? Because if that's the question, then no, we haven't decided yet.
No, we haven't.
No. We got some other big things, though, planned that we've been more focused on. The food we feel like we can kind of wing. And, at the end of the day, too, we always have Tommy, right? Tommy could whip something up for us, and we'll be all right. And that's what the Cutback crew is here for, right? To save us in times of doubt.
That's true. Tommy could pick us up.
He could, 100%.
Whenever we're down.
Yeah,
so that would be nice. Matt Burgos, not sure if I'm late on this probably, but comments on the second practice violation during OTAs. There was a second practice violation?
I haven't seen that one yet. So, Matt, I will be pulling that up right now. Or if you want to send me a link to it, that'd be great.
I did not see anything about a second practice violation. I did see the first one that stemmed from the Deommodore Lenoir, Austin Watkins, viral video of him absolutely dominating Watkins. And then they fined Kyle Shanahan $50,000, fined the team for the first response. If they did have a second one, that is when you get into bigger fines and you start inching closer to them taking away draft picks. I think that would be huge news. I haven't heard anything about a second violation.
I'm still not seeing a second violation, so I'm wondering, 49ers penalized for second time for offseason violations. Hit again for offseason practice violation during OTA. The team was fined $100,000 and Kyle Shanahan was fined $50,000.
Oh, so that was considered the second one.
That was considered the second fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we are up to date with those fines. I just didn't realize that was considered the second fine.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, right. I'm okay with that.
They were gonna get dinked for it. So.
And I guess I'm one of the only ones that doesn't have a problem with this. I seen a lot of maybe it's the coach in me, but. Guess what, guys? Stuff like this happens all the time. You think it doesn't? All you have to do is go to any single high school or college field. You're going to find them making some sort of error as far as following the rules. It is hard sometimes to make sure everything is going completely
unless
right.
It's Coach Collins and he's got every single X cross on the dot. When there's no equipment, that man would go buy towels. I don't know if you remember this. Buy towels. He'd wrap them wrap them with like a piece of paper or something in the middle so it was a little bit harder into a football shaped, and then would put tape over it.
Oh, so you could use it instead of footballs?
Oh, yeah, it was glorious.
We used water balloons.
That's also a good one.
Yeah.
It's a really good one also.
It was good. It worked out.
I was wondering what the heck we were doing out there, and then he was like, we're practicing. And I'm like, yeah, but we're not supposed to use the ball. And he goes, we're not using the ball. And I was like, what are we using? He goes, towels.
Yeah, I
Towels,
like it.
Towels, Sasania. And I was like, you're a genius. Oh my God. You're opening my eyes right now. Opening my eyes. Dungy in Arizona?
As far as Arizona Cardinals?
Is he? I thought you were still at Arizona State, is he not?
That's not Dungy.
That's not Dungy. That's Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards, yeah. That's
Herm
Arizona
Edwards.
State, yeah.
Arizona State. So Dungy is going to Arizona? Is that true?
I haven't heard anything.
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. Cliff Kingsbury going out and getting himself some experience there, if that's the case. If that's truly the thing, I'm going to check this right now. Tony Dungy.
Yeah, and anyone that has any questions, go ahead and throw them out there. We will go with the live Q&A. You can ask anything you want. We will answer. Well, maybe not anything, but most of it.
It's true. Very true. Matt, I'm not seeing anything on Dungy in Arizona, so maybe unless it's a college, unless it's Arizona University or something of that nature. So I don't know. Tommy has a gig tonight. If Tommy does have a gig, man, good luck. I hope that goes well for Tommy.
Yeah, he was in our premiere this morning. Or not this morning, yesterday.
Yesterday,
yeah. He was in, so I actually haven't talked to him today.
Screw Coward, Vegas, CBS, we're not going to be mediocre, period. 49ers are coming this year. It's revenge year and teams are going to feel it. Agreed. Luke, 100%. They're going to feel it. Oh, he meant Edwards for recruiting restrictions in Arizona State during COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
The recruiting restrictions thing.
You play to win the game, bro. Play to win the game. I don't know what they're...
Yeah.
Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts with all that, isn't there? Recruiting in general, I mean, that's not the easiest thing.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. And you know what? We've done all of this, right? We've done all of this, and we haven't even given them the big tease.
Oh, we should give them the big tease before we answer all the questions.
We probably should give you the big tease before we answer all the questions. So look.
Go ahead and keep filling up with questions, but we'll get to them.
We can keep track, and we're going to keep track. But we got a new thing, a new segment, a new, I guess, show.
Yeah.
Coming to the 49ers Cutback. It's a fun show. Show about great things, right? Great times, great moments for the 49ers.
Yes.
Throughout history. Ladies and gentlemen, for the very first time on the 49ers Cutback and on our live stream, you have a teaser for Cutback in Time. And not just any kind of cutback, a 49ers Cutback.
Cutback in Time, yeah.
In Time.
Yes, a Cutback in Time, or 49ers Cutback in Time,
Sure.
is going to be coming to the channel very, very, very soon. So everyone be on the lookout for that. We will let you know exactly when it's scheduled. It could be Thursday. It could be.
Might be a throwback Thursday. Who knows?
It might be a throwback Thursday. Who knows? Cutback in Time is coming. 49ers Cutback in Time especially. And we're going to be going over a lot of great moments that have happened in 49er land. You will want to tune in. You will get the whole trio. We will all be here for that one.
Oh, yeah, we are. It's going to be a fun one, man. We got so much good stuff to talk about. There's so many great moments in 49ers history. So there's so many great things to talk about and different players we can highlight. And that's kind of, that's another thing that we do a lot of, and I spent a lot of time in our friend group is talking about these great moments. And now we get to share these great moments with all of you and kind of put this idea down and put it on the show and put it on the pod. And it's just extra content for you guys.
It is. So it's going to be so fun. Yes, Matt, there's not going to be any of Bo Jackson's Raiders. We do not want Bo Jackson on that in our world.
No.
I will say this, the intro video for that, you have to watch the end of the intro video. When it gets released, make sure you watch it. Something special. You will pick up on it. Hopefully it is marrying things of the past with things of the future in a cool way.
Very cool way. I saw it today for the first time and brought a big smile to my face.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Really greatly enjoyed it. Look, Alex had a question while the teaser was playing for a 49ers Cutback in Time. If Jimmy G gets hurt in camp and it isn't season ending and Trey starts the season, does Jimmy G play at all when he gets healthy?
No, I don't think so. I think if Jimmy Garoppolo goes down in camp and Trey Lance takes the wheel and the reins, I mean, when is Jimmy coming back? But I think you don't want to take Trey off the field at that point. That would be catastrophic for Jimmy Garoppolo as far as this season goes. He wants to stay on the field. He wants to give no opportunities to Trey Lance to take his job.
Agreed with you.
So he needs to make sure 100% that that he gets out there and he does his job and doesn't get hurt. Oh yeah, because if Trey gets on the field, I have a weird feeling Trey's not coming off because as long as he's playing at least good, they're just going to roll with it because they're going to win because that defense is fantastic.
That defense is fantastic. The only thing I could see, the only way that Trey gets off the field and Jimmy comes back on is if Trey gets hurt himself or Trey starts struggling and turning the ball over and it costs the 49ers some games. If it costs the 49ers 1 or 2 games there early in the season, once Jimmy's back and healthy, or middle of the season, if they're making a late playoff push, then yeah, I could see them making the jump back. It doesn't, I mean, look, we all know that Trey Lance is the quarterback of the future, right? If you could get Jimmy in there at the end of the season and he goes on a tear and a run and the Niners get back to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl, nobody is still going to fault you the next season for turning back to Trey and letting Jimmy go and trading him and getting a nice package for him.
Except for the fact you saw what happened in Miami when Tua Tagovailoa struggled and then they brought in Fitz back in and they kept bringing Fitz in certain situations.
But if you make that change back to Jimmy, it's that. It's that.
It could be, and then
it has to be.
What if Jimmy gets hurt again?
Well,
and then he comes back after a couple weeks.
Well, see, that's different.
Yeah,
that's different.
I don't know. To me, it makes everyone question Tua Tagovailoa there. And there's no guarantee that when Trey starts, he doesn't Justin Herbert it and just take off and tear it up.
It's true.
I think Jimmy needs to stay healthy.
I think Jimmy just needs to stay healthy, too. I think that's the best way. Is Trey winning? Asked David.
Trey winning the job?
Yeah.
No. And the simple reason is I don't think that he will have a mastery of this offense by the time week 1 happens.
Right.
Yes, he has an understanding of this offense. Yes, he's grasped the install of the offense. That does not mean you have a mastery of this offense. That has been the hard thing I've been trying to convince people, well, not people, but I've been hearing people say that, yes, because he went through the install, he obviously understands and knows this offense. Those are people that don't understand how you install an offense and don't understand what happens along the way as you're still learning the offense. You are continuing to learn it until you get a mastery of where every moving piece is going to be. It's not just knowing the play. Every moving piece is going to be how is dictated by what defensive formation you're going against, what coverage they're in, what scheme they're running, reading the blitz, making the pass blocking adjustments, and it's just not going to be all there. It just can't be all there for Trey Lance yet. Could there be a possibility of him having enough to be able to start week 1? There is a possibility, but I would still say it's unlikely at this time.
It's extremely unlikely. Look, at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan didn't make, if you all remember, he didn't make the move with Jimmy once they traded for Jimmy right away, right? They didn't just bring this guy in who, by the way, wasn't a rookie, had been playing in a complex system in New England. So it's not like he didn't have exposure to an NFL offense. Jimmy Garoppolo had a vastly bigger head start than Trey Lance did. And even he had to sit 5-6 weeks before it was his time to go and for him to be the man. So it's going to take time, folks. Trey is behind the curve in terms of understanding the offense fully. I know he has a little heads up over some of the other guys coming out in college because he made line calls and things of that nature. But he also played against a much weaker type of team in college where he was at. Teams that maybe didn't have the pieces to be as complex or dynamic as NFL defenses can be, which is going to make his ability to decipher, I'm not saying he can't do it, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Have we seen it work, though, with guys from that specifically from that college? 100%. Carson Wentz went there, and he had a lot of success, especially in year 2, which is where Trey Lance is going to shine once he's had a full year to develop, a full year to get ready. So Trey Lance not winning it right now. Could he win it by halfway through the season? And maybe, but something drastic would have to happen for that to occur. But listen, just get comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo for this season, barring injury.
Yes, and it's not that there's no slight against Trey Lance.
Correct.
0.
None.
I just think we're putting a lot on this guy to learn this offense, the vast amount of plays, formations, personnel groupings, audibles, everything that he has to learn, verbiage, and we're expecting him to go out there and then be able to run it at a high level from day one. It is a lot to put on anyone. And if you don't have to put it on him, don't do it. Let this guy grow. Let him have success when he gets on the field. Don't put him in situations where he can struggle and then kind of stunt his growth. I think that is the first thing. I did see Matt talk about Matt Stafford. I will say this. Yes, after hearing about what Kyle Shanahan said about Matthew Stafford, the 49ers definitely would have been interested in bringing on Matthew Stafford. Once Matthew Stafford got to the Rams, the 49ers were for sure going all in on picking up Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan was looking into it anyways before Stafford was available, and then that was easy to make the move to go to 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It just made the most amount of sense. And when Shanahan made those comments and McVay and him talked about just that whole situation on the Flying Coach podcast, it's very obvious that the Niners wanted to improve the quarterback room, and the Matt Stafford move would have been a move to improve your starting quarterback. They probably still would have drafted a quarterback in this draft. I just don't think they would have taken one where they did. And they still may have made a trade up to go get a piece or a weapon or some kind, but they probably would have taken a quarterback in the second or third round behind Matthew Stafford, which would have made, the Grant Cohns of the world and the Kellen Mond situation all the more viable and doable, and they would have been all so excited about it.
I don't think they would have taken another quarterback. I think if they would have got Stafford, I think they would have done what they did right now
and rolled with Mullins or Beathard.
Yeah, they would have moved on from Jimmy and possibly picked up somebody else. There were other guys that were available that you could have picked up that were cheaper.
I think that would have been a slight step up, personally.
Oh, it's a step up it would have been a step up from Jimmy. The natural ability and talent
the natural ability and talent and the fact that he can stay on the field, yes, but then you still haven't addressed the other problem, right? Which is if your quarterback gets hurt, you have nothing behind him.
I mean, you still have the same questions, though. Can Matthew Stafford learn this offense and run it to the high level? I seen Jason talking about how they dumbed down the system for Jimmy Garoppolo. And that is one of the big things when we talked to Tyler Menting that we were talking about is the argument of can Kyle Shanahan water this offense down enough that Trey Lance can run it? Yes. Can they run an offense that's watered down and kind of put into a box that they can win with? And is Kyle Shanahan comfortable with that? As a play caller, you're 100% would rather run an offense with a player that's a little lesser talent but have more possibilities, because a guy that can execute it, you can do more things, can still be more successful than a more talented player running a smaller version. I know this from experience. I've had guys that were way more talented than guys ahead of them, but because they didn't understand the offense and know how to run it, we couldn't put them in there until they were ready, because they would hold the offense back from being able to execute all the different elements that you need to execute. Once again, it's not a slight against Trey Lance and his abilities. We all believe he's Captain America when it comes to on the field. He's going to be able to do it all. But Jimmy Garoppolo right now pulling the strings is just a little bit farther along and a little bit better than even a boxed version of this offense would look like with Trey Lance. If you can tell me that this defense is going to be 2000s Ravens quality or 1984 San Francisco 49ers quality, then you could put Trey Lance out there right now. But I think if they thought that was possible, they would have already moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo, saved the money, and went ahead and went with Trey. But they don't think that because they still have Jimmy Garoppolo on this roster.
Correct. And that's at the end of the day, it's going to be very, very hard to move on from Jimmy if Jimmy's playing well and is healthy this season, and just rolling with Trey unless you're guaranteeing yourself you have the best defense, one of the best defenses in history, right? You know it. You know what you have out there. DeMeco Ryans, right, is a godsend of a D coordinator and is the next big thing in football in the coaching ranks. If you know all those things, then you're safe. If you don't know all those things and we don't know all those things, then it's a risk to go with Trey Lance because, like you said, you're going to be in a box. And when you're in a box, you're more predictable. At the high school level, Pop Warner level, that's not that big of a deal if you're predictable because the guy
it depends on who you're coaching
against. Yeah, it depends on the guy across the field.
Yeah.
If the guy across the field has no idea what's going on, then you're fine. If the guy has a pulse, then, you're not going to be as productive or as effective as you want to be. At this level, it's really, really hard to find a coach across the field that doesn't have a pulse, unless the team is absolutely just throwing it away.
Well, it's not just that, it's the players. Richard Sherman prepares to go against offensive coordinators. He knows the ins and outs of what they do.
True.
If now all of a sudden somebody has prepared, and let's say a prime Richard Sherman had prepared for Kyle Shanahan, and he knew the things that he could only do, that it was in a box, this was all they could do because the quarterback didn't understand the full rank, the full level of the offense, they could jump routes. They could do a lot of things that would make it hard to be successful in the NFL. yes, Trey Lance could still come in and be successful if the run game got going and they were able to dominate that way. But once again, what we're talking about is the same thing. Isn't that the same problem we have with Jimmy Garoppolo? We talk about he's not able to do much beyond the run, beyond the run game. It's like, okay, well, you're going to get the same thing with Trey. Let's not just count on it and put Trey out there because he could be successful in the same, area.
I agree with you there. Fable said, can you guys clarify if Dwight Clark was a wide receiver or a tight end? This is now a controversial subject to me.
He's a wide receiver. He was played. It was actually his actual position was split in. Tommy Huxley has arrived, by the way. So thank you, Tommy, for the super chat. But yes, he was in fact a receiver. He was not a tight end. Famously, on a lot of those teams, Russ Francis was the tight end.
It's true.
There was a big difference, but at Clemson, Dwight Clark was a receiver, and for the 49ers, he was a receiver. That's part of the reason that Bill Walsh told him you're not going to be here very long, because he knew as soon as he got to a certain age, he wasn't going to be able to play in this league anymore. He didn't really have great speed. He had decent speed. He did have a way with the ladies, though.
That's true. That is true. Shout out to good old Dwight there. Given strictly a defensive tackle, right? Rotational piece with DJ Jones / Kinlaw.
Yeah, I think so.
Fair.
I think you could see these guys at times. They could put two guys that should be three techs. They could put them on the field at the same time and pull the one tech off the field. So that is a possibility. But yeah, he's a strictly defensive line, interior lineman. He's not going to play on the edge.
Fair. Magnum McCormick with a great question here. What is your biggest what if in 49ers history? For him, it would have been not trading Charles Haley to the Cowboys in the 90s.
That is a big one. I like that one.
That's a really good one.
One personal to me is, what if the refs wouldn't have called a penalty on Eric Wright against the Steelers that would have won the 49ers that game, and the 49ers would have went undefeated in 1984, and we never would have had to see those stupid 72 Dolphins pop another cork because it would have been over. It was definitely not a penalty, so what if they wouldn't have called that? Forever in our lifetime, we would have been able to hang that over people's heads, and we could have been doing the cork popping. So that's what I'm going to go to.
That's a good one. For me, I'm going to go with one that still stings me to this day. It would have been the very first time that I would have seen the 49ers in a Super Bowl. And I fully believe that wholeheartedly because the Giants went on to win it that year. It's Kyle Williams' fumble on that punt.
Oh, in 2011?
Yeah, that one broke me to my core.
That was a painful one. I think
here's the thing: is for me, early '90s, a lot of that stuff I saw after the fact. I witnessed it growing up, but I was a kid. I don't remember a lot of it, and I wasn't that much into football at that time. 2011, I'm coming out of high school. I'm still very much into football at this point. Actually, becoming more and more involved in football, coaching, understanding the game better than I ever had. That one just broke me.
I could throw a what if on that 2011 as well. What if the 49ers would have signed Terrell Owens and Randy Moss and now went with Brett Swain at wide receiver?
Freaking dude, he did not get open at all in that game.
No, and when he was open, he didn't catch it. Alex actually tried to throw it to him before Vernon caught the ball over the middle on that final drive of the grab.
Yeah.
And he didn't even reach out his arms. It's like, where'd you guys find the Marlboro man, and why did you put him out there? It's terrible.
He's not good at all.
No.
It was really, really, really terrible. It was just awful. Oh man, I just scrolled down too much there. Shout out again, Tommy. Man, you freaking awesome person. My goodness gracious. There it is. Another juice. If Shanahan had stayed at the correct hotel in Cancun, might have gone with Stafford.
Yeah, that's what I brought up earlier. Yeah.
If Jimmy G hurt and Trey is winning, say 5-1, do you bring Jimmy G back? We kind of already talked about that, David.
At 5-1, no.
At 5-1, no.
No, you're rolling with Trey. This guy's winning football games.
Correct. Is it negative for Trey's long-term development sitting this year if Jimmy plays all season?
No. No, I mean, was it negative for Patrick Mahomes? Was it negative for Aaron Rodgers to sit 2 years? I think this is something that is changed lately as we've gotten into the new era where everyone wants everyone to start right away because it's a shiny new toy and no one can wait for Christmas Day to open it. They all want to open it a week or 2 weeks early. Just wait, okay? It's exciting. Open up that new video game. Open up that new, toy. Just wait for it to happen. When it happens, then when you get it, it will be a lot better. You open it right now, and you've got another pair of underwear from your grandma. You open it in a week, maybe it turns into a Super Nintendo, which you always wanted in your whole life. Maybe I'm talking about personal, who knows? I'm just saying. Sometimes you got to wait for that present to age and develop and get better.
Yeah, wine gets better with age.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks sitting and developing, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Long-term development especially, the more time he has to learn the system and get comfortable and not have the pressure on him, the better off he will be and the better off his team will be. I think waiting is not necessarily bad for his long-term development there, Alex. Fable, do you guys think Jimmy G should strongly be considering talking with the front office and restructuring his contract to a lower amount?
I'm sure he would, because that would lock him in for next year.
Correct.
If they restructured, they would have to move money to next year, and that would give him guaranteed money. The one who is going to resist that is the San Francisco 49ers. They do not want any of his contract from next year being guaranteed above what it is right now. I think it's like $2.8 million that's guaranteed next year.
It's true.
That means they can get out from under it and not have, and have a minimal cap hit. So would Jimmy want that? Probably. Would the 49ers want that? Absolutely not, because they want to free up all that cap space. So that way they can go out and put other great players around Trey Lance and try to make a run at another Super Bowl, hopefully.
True. Look, JLA, that's a great question there. Were the Niners all in on Watson before the news came out? So would they have given up everything they used to get Trey Lance? Would they have used that same amount to get Watson? It's an interesting question because I think the Niners would make that move. The problem is there's no way the Houston Texans would have just taken draft capital for Deshaun Watson. They were going to want draft capital and players.
I think so. I think ultimately it would have happened. I think they would have, and I think it would have been this deal that they gave up. I think they would have got Deshaun Watson because you still had the money issue, right? At least with Trey Lance, you know that you're getting salary cap relief. With Deshaun Watson, he has the contract, which was good this year, but it escalates.
Bad down the line, yeah.
It's not horrible, but it escalates.
Correct.
But yes, I definitely think they would have made the move, and I think the when they would have done it was when the Rams made the move for Matthew Stafford. The way that Kyle Shanahan talked about McVay was, hey, if the Rams are in on Julio Jones, we're more in for Julio Jones. So once that Stafford move got made, the 49ers realized, they don't have Gaff anymore. They've gotten a legitimate quarterback. They would have went Deshaun Watson. They would have got it done. But ultimately, they didn't have to, and they got Trey Lance.
True. And you know what? In all honesty, I'm okay with that.
I am too, because I'd rather build around a rookie pay scale, and I just worry about Deshaun Watson being successful in an area where there's a lot of, massage therapists.
That's a good one right there. That's a really good one. Alex Faulkner with another great question here. What seed did the Niners get in the NFC?
I think it's going to be 2.
You guys know my thoughts on this.
Yeah, you think it's 1?
It's 1.
Yeah,
it's 1.
I think it's 2, but I think they're going to be right in contention for 1. But I think they're going to be out there and they're going to cause issues for people, and I can't wait. I'm waiting for the showdown with Tampa Bay. I want it.
That's going to be a fun game.
And I want Jimmy to get it. I want Jimmy over Tom, and for this to be the swan song for Jimmy ends up winning a Super Bowl, done with San Francisco. And Tom Brady is done after losing to Jimmy Garoppolo, which will piss him off. He'll definitely come back, but
he won't.
He won't. But it'll give Jimmy that he needs, and then Jimmy can go off, get his team that he needs, and
to
then
the AFC. He can go off to the AFC.
Oh yeah, and we can get a lot for him, and then we can put Trey Lance in there, and then the next year we can go after Jimmy Garoppolo and try to destroy him with Trey Lance.
I like that a lot. Yeah. I like that. I think that would be the best possible scenario, and it's entirely doable.
It is.
It's entirely doable. We had some great what ifs that came through as well. So I want to get to those right now because there were some really, really good ones that I saw come through, and now I lost my place and cannot freaking find it. Here we go. What if we drafted Rodgers over Smith? That might be one of the bigger draft what ifs in a long time.
One thing I'll say is, as a player, Aaron Rodgers is a better player than Alex Smith. He definitely developed into being a better player. But if you're telling me that Aaron Rodgers is going to play for that San Francisco 49ers group that had Nolan, McCarthy for 1 year, then he's gone, so then you get all these different players, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have had success at the level Alex Smith had, or would have had more success, but not where he did in Green Bay.
Correct.
And the only time he really would have shined is with Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator. He would have had a great season. But I think it would have stunted the growth of Aaron Rodgers. We wouldn't talk about Aaron Rodgers being an elite quarterback in the NFL. We would talk about him being a very good one until he ultimately got to a different team that wasn't San Francisco.
Oh man, he would have ended up in Kansas City, right?
He could have. Yeah, imagine if he would have gotten traded to Kansas City instead of Alex Smith.
And then the Niners would have ended with Patrick Mahomes. See, it would have come full circle.
Yeah, I don't think we would have got Patrick Mahomes. We were waiting on Kirk.
Oh, God.
It's just a terrible name. Why would anyone name their kid Kirk?
That joke has multiple meanings. That was a good one. Fable says, what if Roger Craig doesn't fumble in the NFC Championship
1990, 100%.
So nice,
you could also say,
nice fat three-peat.
What happens if Joe Montana doesn't get hurt in that game?
Also true.
If Montana doesn't get hurt, there's also a cool story, if anyone ever goes into it, about Bill Belichick changing the plan for that game the Friday before and basically telling Bill Parcells, we need to let these guys run all over us. We need to let them run all over us. If not, Joe Montana is going to surgically destroy us and we're going to lose. And they ended up doing it. Belichick is the reason the Giants are even in that game. But it would have been interesting to see Chris Berman's prediction that he had every single year come true. Niners versus Bills would have been a marquee matchup of Steve Young against Frank Reich.
Great matchup. Incredible.
I mean, it was better than Jim Hostetler and Frank Reich.
Gosh, Jim freaking Hostetler.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious. Tommy asked, what if Ted Ginn wasn't injured? We talked about Ted Ginn to open the show time.
That's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Niners win the Super Bowl.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
It's sad. Really sad. I don't want to talk about it. It just hurts. It hurts. What if Ed Hockley doesn't call the play dead when we recovered the fumble?
True.
Also true. Some good what ifs here in the chat tonight.
There is.
I really like these what ifs. All these what ifs are. But no, I hope I didn't miss one, right? No, I don't think I missed one there in that section. What if the 2019 Super Bowl was only 3 quarters?
Yeah, I saw Gary post that.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Right.
even if it was 3.5.
True. Most of that fourth we were ahead.
Of course, if Super Bowl, some of the other Super Bowls wouldn't have went our way, maybe. So.
Yeah, No, I agree with you there. Look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of what ifs, right? There's a lot of what ifs you could talk about, and Jason just put it down there in the chat. What if we had ran the ball at the goal line 3 straight times instead of trying to throw 3 fades to Crabtree?
Yeah.
Still can't get over
I agree with that one.
Still can't get over that one at all.
Yeah. I mean, we get on the Seahawks for not throwing or for not running it on first down.
Yeah, that was bad. You had 3 opportunities to just pound the ball down your throat with Frank Gore or go read option with Kaepernick.
You go read option, right?
You have none of it.
Either one of them can run the ball.
Just flash back to the NFC Championship game against Atlanta at the end of the game when you're in the goal line to win it, to score to punch and put it over the top, right? That's what they did.
Well, I think the big thing too was Gore had just made a run, so he wasn't going to be in on first down. I think that's what ultimately made them throw on first down. But they could have put in somebody else and ran the ball. It's not like they didn't have LaMichael James that they could have brought in to run the ball. They didn't have Booby Dixon that could have came in and run the ball. And that guy was a large maggot. It's not like he's going to lose yards. Right. Give him the ball, let him run up the middle. He would have got you, close to the goal line. Then let Frank come in and clean it up, running him on 2nd and 3rd down. It would have been fine. I would have been fine with them running it all the way through 4th down and just trying to win that game.
I would have been totally fine with it. If that was your idea there is, you know what, we're going to make them stop us from getting this 2 yards. We're going to run the ball. And that was really Harbaugh's identity, was the creative run scheme and the run game and the way he ran the football and the power down the throat. It would have made sense for that to be the way you go out. It's just unfortunate. It really is. It truly is. Great question here, Magnum. You think the Niners make a midseason trade to get that weapon they need to win the Super Bowl? And if so, who do you think they go after?
The question is, what weapon do we need? What position is lacking? Are we shattered at running back? Are we shattered at the wide receiver position? Do we need a cornerback? I just need to know what weapon it's going to be, because then that will make me decide whether we need to make a move. If maybe we have 3 receivers playing well, but we need a 4th guy that's going to open it up, or maybe we need another tight end. Whatever it is, then I would say we could do it. But to me, until I know what position I'm attacking, I can't tell you what move I need to make.
I would say that if it's going to be anything, it's going to be corner. As for who that corner is, I don't know.
Who is, and also who's playing bad that's willing to trade somebody?
That's going to be the issue, right? Because I don't think the Patriots are going to be as bad as they were last year. They'll have no reason to move off of Stephon Gilmore by that point, if that's the case.
I mean, unless they just get overwhelmed with an offer. And then again, the 49ers are going into the 2020, 2022 draft without
You'd be
a,
like
a
the
second round pick or something.
like the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see the Niners making that desperate of a move for a guy like Stephon Gilmore.
I don't see it.
If they were going to do it, it was going to happen during the draft. It's not going to happen now. So I still think it's corner. If it's going to be someone, the question is what corner? Who are you going after? And there are some names, definitely, but I can't even begin to fathom or wrap my head around who it is they're going to be targeting and what it's going to cost. That's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. Oh, boy. Okay, am I wrong for having them in this order? Willis 1, Warner 2, Ken Norton 3, Bowman 4.
As far as...
I think the linebackers, just ranking them.
You're ranking linebackers, you're going Willis 1, Warner
2, Norton 3, Bowman 4.
I'm ready for Warner to play some more before I put him there. But there are some omissions on here.
You think?
Well, number one, where's Hacksaw Reynolds?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Hacksaw literally taught guys how to play football, how to understand football. Keena Turner learned so much from Hacksaw. I would say he has to be on there. And then, because he played in a 3-4 scheme, is Charles Haley an edge pass rusher or is he a linebacker?
That's a good question.
So he would have to be on the list. If we're talking about interior linebackers, I mean that list isn't bad.
I just think Warner's high right now.
Warner needs to do more. And I do think that a prime Navarro Bowman was better than a prime Ken Norton.
Okay.
I don't know if he actually is ahead of him because he didn't play as many years and Ken Norton was solid, but I think Ken Norton wasn't as good in the passing game as Navarro Bowman was.
Navarro Bowman was lights out in the pass game.
He was fantastic. I mean, having him and Patrick Willis together was unbelievable.
And that's the thing, right? Is that I would make the argument in terms of interior linebackers that we had the two best playing in their prime at the same time in San Francisco. You had Willis and Bowman both there. That was a 1-2 punch, unlike any 1-2 punch at the linebacker core in the NFL. It is the best linebacker core that I've ever watched. And from everything that I've seen film-wise and the stuff that I've watched of old 49er film, looking at old stats, just looking at old players, I feel like interior-wise, that is the best 1-2 punch we've ever had.
And, I mean, some of it, too, like, you look at the teams that the 49ers had. You had Hacksaw Reynolds. You had Matt Millen.
Yep.
You had Michael Walter. You had Gary Plummer. All these guys that played in the middle. Of course, you had Ken Norton, who manned it for a long time. And then there was a stretch where you kind of struggled at linebacker until you got Patrick Wilson, Navarro Bowman, and now Fred Warner. I think eventually we will actually talk about those three being the greatest linebackers in 49ers history because I think Fred Warner is going to ascend to that level. But I don't think he's wrong. If he's projecting where Fred Warner is going to be, that is a good spot. Fred could actually pass everyone just because I think he's going to play longer than Patrick Willis. But Patrick did some special things. He was a special person.
You can say that again.
So I don't know. That is actually a good question, but he's not far off on his list.
No, not at all. It's not
outlandish
or outrageous.
Jay Ellie says Lee Woodall. Lee Woodall was an outside linebacker. I did like Lee Woodall. He was actually one of my favorite players from back then. Of course, early on, I liked Bill Romanowski until he went to other teams. So I liked him as well.
Oh, Romanowski. That book the book he had talking about just his stint in the NFL it's a good book. If you haven't checked that out, you really should go read that. Dan Buns.
Another outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. I do like Dan Buns.
It's a good one.
That play out on the goal line is fantastic. Mm-hmm. The symmetry between him being 57 and then Dre Greenlaw being 57. But that is the greatest goal line stand in football history, in the NFL Super Bowl history.
Yeah. And I would say Greenlaw's stop it's in the top 5 at least.
It's one of the great stops. But the fact that they stopped them over and over and over in that Super Bowl on the goal line is never going to be matched.
Actually, Caleb, Reuben Foster forgot to put himself on the list.
Yeah,
because he made dumb, stupid decisions, and that's there's that. Congratulations.
I liked Reuben Foster too.
I did
as a player, but man, did he make some bad moves.
I don't know how many times he can make the same mistake, but hey, teach their own. Po Buddy's nerfed, right? Po Buddy is freaking nerfed. List of busts. I don't know about that. I don't know about bust.
For who?
Foster. I wouldn't say bust.
He has to be because he didn't do anything, and he's a first-round pick. AJ Jenkins, 100% is on that list.
AJ Jenkins, 100%. Solomon Thomas is not a bust. He's just a meh.
He was overdrafted.
Correct. He should have been drafted.
I think he's still a good, serviceable player.
He's gonna start.
It's just he never reached the number 3 overall pick level. He's not Nick Bosa.
Correct.
But think about we said this.
Can we be honest too? Then, if we're gonna go there, right? Is Jadeveon Clowney not a bust?
I mean, if you look at his overall stats, yes.
Right? I mean, if you look
he
at
never played up to being first overall pick.
No. But see, this is what I mean. It's like Jadeveon Clowney's had a couple of good years and decent production, and nobody in their right mind. Well, that's not true. There are plenty of people in their right mind because I've said it. But most people wouldn't say Jadeveon Clowney is a bust. But if you look at what he's actually done in the league, that's not number 1 overall pick.
Well, he hasn't lived up to number 1 pick.
No. Solomon Thomas has not lived up to number 3, but he's not a bust. He hasn't done the things that you expect a 3rd overall pick at that position to do.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, he's a serviceable start. He's going to start in this league for probably a good 8 to 10 years. He's going to be a guy who plays in this league consistently over the next, still another 5-6 years in this league before he starts to top off and before you see him run out of the league. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's going to find a starting job somewhere.
Well, it's like we talked about Solomon Thomas before. If we'd have drafted him in the 5th round or the 3rd round, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
It's true. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And Fable, I'm glad that you said that because, yeah, we agree. He's definitely a bust. When do we start getting worried about Warner's contract situation from Antonio?
Not yet. It's like I said before, I believe, I don't know if Antonio has heard me say this or not,
Sure.
I believe he's going to sign either the day before or right when training camp starts. I think we're on the same timeline that we were on with George Kittle.
That's fair. I won't start getting worried until after the second preseason game. If he's not re-signed by the second preseason game, then you will see me on this podcast getting worried.
They could always franchise tag him next year.
They very well could. I hope they don't, but they could.
Yeah.
Very, very well could be the case. Oh my goodness gracious. Liked Tim Harris for the short time he played for us. Agreed.
He pulled out 6 shooters when he made a sack.
It's true he did.
Yep.
You like to see that.
Famously hit Troy Aikman out of bounds in 1994, or kind of shoved him, and him and Charles Haley went nose to nose. That's something I would have liked to see. I'm taking Haley.
Haley's scary.
Haley's a crazy guy.
Yeah, he's scary, dude.
But
he's scary.
But that would have been fun to watch.
Agreed.
But every time after that, when he got a sack, he just pulled the 6 guns out and just looked over at the sideline. I liked it. Yep.
Like the 6 guns. That's another guy too I always forget about, Tim Harris. And dude, I for the longest time growing up, I didn't realize that Dion was only in San Francisco for a year.
1 year.
1 year. It didn't click. It just didn't click. And it was because, that team was so great the year he was there, and that defense did so well, and it was just like a shot in the arm for that defense during that time. I remember getting into high school and like starting to dive in a little bit more to 49ers history. And I was like, man, I remember when Dion used to play for the Niners, and I was like thinking to myself, like all those years. And I started looking up the stats, and I was like, it was 1 year.
Yeah.
It was 1 year. I didn't even realize that. Crazy. Lance and Warner will sign together in an epic photo shoot. That's really bold, David.
Maybe.
David, that's bold. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. That is for sure. Haley was out of his mind. Yeah, he's him and Romanowski, both weird dudes.
Well, true story about Charles Haley is he's actually bipolar, and he was not medicated. And one of the only people that could handle him was Ronnie Lott. And when Ronnie Lott went to the Raiders, famously the 49ers and the Raiders played each other, they had to go get Ronnie Lott from the Raiders locker room, and he came over and kind of consoled and got Charles Haley back on track. But Charles Haley's been open about it, and the fact that he never knew, and it's something he dealt with, and now he's able to manage it. Yeah. So good for him, figuring it out. But yeah, that was definitely a bad move for the 49ers, trading him to the Cowboys.
Yeah, it was.
All because Seifert just didn't like the distraction, didn't like dealing with them.
Seifert sometimes kills me.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Look, Cutback Crew faithful. This was a fun one tonight.
It was.
We got a lot done. We talked about a lot of different things, right? A lot of different stuff we got down there on the table. You got a nice little teaser, sneak peek of a 49ers Cutback in time coming to this channel soon. Who knows? Potentially on Thursday for Throwback Thursdays?
Yes.
Who knows?
It could be Thursday. It's going to be exciting, too. And we're going to have a lot of cool stuff coming along the way. A lot of fun announcements coming. I can't wait for everything that's going to be happening, not just with the show, but the 49ers season. we're so close to training camp. We're so close to the preseason, getting to see these guys playing. I can't wait for it. I'm all hyped for this season. I'm ready to go.
Oh man, I have never been more ready for a preseason than this preseason. And who knows? Maybe it's the fact that we have this sweet podcast that everyone likes listening to, and that you should hit that subscribe button and subscribe to if you haven't already. Or maybe it's just the fact that this is one of the better rosters ever assembled by a 49ers front office.
And it's the key guys you get to watch. Trey Lance, Trey Sermon, Aaron Banks, the stories. Ambry Thomas, is he going to be able to step up? Then you've got Juwan Jennings, you never saw in preseason. Can Tim Harris Jr. come up and make some plays and get into the cornerback room? How is Emmanuel Mosley going to handle being, day one starter from the beginning? There are just so many guys and so many fun opportunities and fun things to watch and talk about. That's exciting. Can JaMychal Hasty make this roster? Is Wayne Gallman who we think he is, or is he not? Too many fun things all along the way. Is Mike McGlinchey back, or is he who everyone thinks he is? Just so many great opportunities and questions that need to be answered, and they're all going to be answered during training camp and preseason as we gear up and get ready for the final 53, Project 53, and the start of the regular season, which I think we all think can be very good for the 49ers.
Agreed 100%. And speaking of Project 53, go watch last year's Project 53 and start getting yourself geared up for what this year's is going to be, because this year's going to get taken to a whole nother level. We're going to whole other level of breakdown for it. For the first time, we'll have live video of us talking about it with some stuff on the guys, so it's not just pictures up there cycling through pictures. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for Project 53 this year. I'm really excited for Cutback in Time. I'm excited for fantasy football leagues, right? I'm excited for the Madden League that we got coming. I'm excited for Pick'em leagues. We got so much great stuff coming for you. So right now, vote in that poll and let us know how excited you are for the preseason. Super excited? Yes? No? What is a preseason? And then in that case, how did you find this channel? That's the question I'll have for you next after that, but it's good. And then also, while you're down there answering the poll, while you're typing away in chat, make sure that you go check out the merch store. Link is going to be popping up here in chat in just a second. Go cop yourself some of this sweet merch that we have on right now, right here. All right, there's lots of other stuff there on the channel. We got Cutback inspired gear. We got 49ers inspired gear. We got NWO themed inspired gear. You want to get all of it. You want to rep all of that 49ers Cutback merch because it makes you a cool kid. Makes you the coolest. Yeah. Right? It's like Billy Madison, if peeing your pants, if that makes you cool, call me Miles Davis. If you're wearing Cutback Crew merch, you might as well be Miles Davis. You'll be the coolest cat on the block. Make sure you go check that stuff out today.
Yeah, go swing, check it out. Make sure you guys stop by on Thursday and check out 49ers Cutback in Time. Don't forget that tomorrow a daily video is coming out at 11 a.m., but we're not just doing an 11 a.m. video. We're double dipping tomorrow as well. So you will get a video at 11 a.m. and at 2 p.m. Stop in, get on the chat, talk on the premiere. It is a lot of fun. You will see people on there from, 10, 15 minutes before, getting it going, getting the chat lit. It's exciting, and you will want to see what we're talking about. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's going to be a very, very fun time tomorrow. It's going to be a fun time on this channel from now until forever. That's right, forever. I'm not even going to put a cap on it. This is going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm really excited for this year. I'm really excited for all the things the channel still has to come. Man, it's good times.
Yep. Sorry, Josh Rosen, we're out of time.
Always.
And you know what time it is? Let's chalk another one up.
Indeed. See you next time, folks. Bye. Bye. Oh, that's the wrong scene. Bye.
From the alley-oops at Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.